Directing traffic, gonna go deep, has a man deep. It is caught for the touchdown, Corey Davis.
If he has good technique, he will be elite. If his technique becomes great, not just good, then he's a Hall of Famer.
Drive face, full cell vertical, get into the blind spot, and he absolutely burns it. Corner is lost. He literally has no idea where Wilson is.
Really high floor, really high ceiling. You could be talking about the best corner in the league. Sauce can do that.
This is actual film. This is actual football talk. It's a football show. We're supposed to talk football, not storylines.
And you are watching / listening to another edition of Blewett's Blitz. I just woke up, so if I seem a little bit down, I will bring the level up. I will rally as per usual. But Kyle Smith, what is up, my friend?
If you were down, I thought it would have been because AVT down for the year and Brees Hall down for the year. Thought it would have been that, Joe.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. That is obviously unfortunate for the Jets to be on like their 37th offensive lineman this year. You know, expecting going into the year to be, you know, an upper half of the league, maybe even top 10 line, considering, you know, if you had Becton, or even when you transitioned to Brown, you had Fant, you had AVT, you know, had all these guys, and now we have Herbig starting, who we think is a solid backup, but not necessarily a great starter. Cedric Abui, right tackle. Please God, Max Mitchell. And even though Max Mitchell, you know, what's the difference in those two guys? I'm not 100% sure. But even Fant, you know, Fant coming back after the bye would be huge. But
I'll tell you, Max Mitchell plays harder than Ogbehe. Ogbehe seems really soft.
We have another one of those guys. I obviously I watched the film, and this one was a little bit of a shotgun week as well because this week was crazy busy for me just in terms of life stuff and work stuff. But I didn't notice him get beat a ton, so he didn't stand out in a terrible way, at least to me, last week.
Yeah, it didn't seem like he was like god awful or anything, but I just got the vibe that he doesn't play very hard though. And this is, you know, he was a first round pick back in 2015, Bengals, and I know he's moved around a bit, so I don't know. I guess there's reasons for it. Maybe
we will talk some of the Broncos game. Maybe we'll talk some of the Pats game. Maybe we'll talk some trade options, some trades that the Jets made. We have plenty of things to talk about. But first, we'll say some hello to the people in the chat. Eagle Fang in here early as per usual. Jets face off against the Evil Empire. Zach Wilson has to play like the second pick in the NFL draft this week. Belichick has heard the noise about him being normal, and the Jets have to play angry. We'll talk about that, you know, quotes and stuff like that coming out from the Jets, and kind of recap a little bit about last year. I don't think the Jets are going to have any problem being up for this game, Kyle.
I don't think so either. And you could see it in Mr. Strain's comments today, where he remembers the score and he says, we're looking forward to this one. And one thing you could say about the Jets is, you know, they might be flawed in some ways and stuff, but they play hard on a week-to-week basis, I think. They seem to be flying around. I think they have a lot of fast players. And these players remember it. I mean, like, you know, it's a young team. So a lot of these guys on the team who are starting, there are only 2 games against New England. Is 2 games you got absolutely your ass kicked in. So they're going to want their revenge too. And there is something Jets Patriots. It's another home game. You know, the Jets not a great record at home this year, and they want to show out. So I think they're going to be up, and I think the stadium is going to be rocking. But as you know, Joe, in the last Patriots game that we were at together last year, you know, you start off and you get in a hole really quickly. All of a sudden, you lose that crowd noise. So.
Yeah, I really do think this is like, it's crazy how like you add a couple of pieces or like pieces to an individual position group, and like how much your team can change, like how much just a couple of pass rushers and how much a couple of corners have changed this defense from like terrible to okay, they're pretty fucking good right now. And we're gonna go over some numbers later. Yeah. Like and even Quan is a guy who I remember doing that film review, like $1.5 million. I'm like, why is he getting $1.5 million? Like it's a little bit.
Why was he signed so late in free agency?
Yeah,
right.
12 games to the last, or each of the last 2 years. But even if you can get what he's producing right now and what he's produced the last couple of years for 12 games, to me that's worth more than $1.5 million or 1.25 or whatever it was. But yeah, we'll talk about the Pats in a little bit. Kyle and I will both be in attendance. I have a Halloween party the night before. So
what are you dressing as?
I'm gonna have to rally. So the original plan for the people, and I'm doing this next year, so don't steal it from me. But the original plan was to. Did you ever watch The Boys, Kyle?
I don't believe so.
Okay, well, it's basically like a superhero show about like if superheroes were kind of like real people, like they weren't so super,
Okay.
like they screwed up like the rest of us. And if you do watch that show, I'm not going to reference all of it right now, but I was going to be the Deep, and I was going to have a squid. So if you guys watch that show, I would appreciate if you if you get the reference there. But yeah, it's gonna be like it's like a stupid superhero, but nonetheless. Gonna wake up the next morning and rally to the game. J1 will be there at 8:00 in the morning, probably a little bit earlier, so we're gonna stop by. Then do that. I think we might link up with some of the Let's Talk Jets guys there. We'll figure that out. But nonetheless, it's gonna be a rowdy tailgate to say the least, and the game is going to be rowdy as well. I expect this to be the most sold ticket game or whatever, the most sold out game, or it might actually almost be sold out now. Since Pats 2015. Right, this is definitely the biggest game since then, where you expect fans to be up, because like even Baltimore, even some of the home openers, like fans are a little bit hesitant, obviously because of the Jets history, but Jets fans have not been fired up like this since easily 2015. And me personally, it's more than 2015 for obvious reasons in terms of the roster construction and how they can actually sustain this going forward. Whereas that year, obviously, it was short-term build, but I definitely expect it to be up.
Yeah. As do I. Should be fun. Are we doing black jerseys, since that's what the Jets are doing?
Oh yeah. So that's my thing. When you go to the games, you match the Jets jerseys. When you go to away games, you wear what the other team does not have. Sauce jersey is definitely coming out for sure.
No, I thought you were gonna have your Black Elijah Moore jersey for this week.
No, I'm gonna tape it. I'm gonna tape over the. Did you see the guy last week in Denver? Yeah, me. Nah, dude. Listen, like at the end of the day, with Elijah Moore, I'm sure we'll talk about it in more depth. Do I want him to be an absolute stud for the Jets? Yes, I still want that, because I think for this team this year, him being on the team and balling out is the best thing for the team, because you're trading him for reduced value right now in terms of what he's worth. You're going to get a late second, early third, whatever it may be. And to me, he's worth more than that. So do I want him to get touchdowns and score 1,000 times for the Jets? 100%. Am I going to wear his jersey again? No, just like Becton. Like, I'm not the biggest person. I'm not, and Becton's obviously a different situation than Moore. Like, I'm never going to buy a Becton jersey. Like, that's just not going to happen. But, who's to say you have to like all 53 guys on your team,
Yeah. I have a feeling that, I think your tune has already started to change about him a little bit. And it's kind of nice, dude. It was kind of nice seeing the videos where he's dapping up, LaFleur and all his teammates. And, listen, winning cures all and production cures all. Like, listen, if he goes out and has a great game this week, I think fans will kind of change their opinion on him pretty quickly. And I think you will feel the same way, even though you were so ready to trade him last week. So, if he turns into the player that you thought he was going to be, Joe, I think that you will be like, you know what? I can forgive him for his transgression.
Yeah, well, he has a very long road. But with that being said, is that jersey ever going to get taken out of the closet? Probably not. At a certain point, your jersey's not going to rock. But nonetheless, okay. Let's keep going in the chat, and then we'll recap the Denver game. I'm going to try to end it at 8:00 today for obvious reasons that we spoke about before. But go New York, go New York, go. Who gets mad when I read it? Go NY, go, because that's what your name is. When I watched the Denver game, I didn't come away with a Zach Wilson sucks feeling. I came away with a Wilson was running for his life feeling. We'll talk about it in more depth, but we do pretty simple. I came away with the offensive line sucks feeling, and also a Zach Wilson sucks feeling. Like, neither was good in that game, right?
Yeah, pretty much feel the same way.
Yeah, okay, and we'll talk about it. Can't wait. What's up? Anthony G, Marvin Guns, Chop. Steven, what's up? I miss AVT. We all miss AVT, and it sucks. Like last week, I think maybe it was last week where we said like he might not be the best player on the Jets, because I think Quinnen Williams is, but he's the most valuable player on the Jets. And so you lost your most valuable player on offense and your second most valuable player on offense. Like, if we were to do a list pre this game or even after this game of the top 5 Jets we don't want to lose, I would say those two guys, Wilson, Q, and Sauce, right? You off the top of my head, without really like sifting through it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. The AVT loss, I mean, as much as we were prepared for the Breece Hall thing. Like I was thinking about it all night. Like that. I remember talking to my wife like after the game. Like that loss was exhausting. I mean, that win last week was exhausting. Like it was nice. It's always nice getting a win, but I had such a nasty feeling after it. I was prepared for Breece to be done for the year based on, when does a coach come out in the post-game press conference and says, yeah, we think it's an ACL? Like he didn't even say, if I remember correctly, he didn't even say that after what happened to Zach against the Eagles. Like he was like, yeah, we're going to do more tests. He was, more careful. So I was prepared
I thought it was
for
a
that.
concussion. I really did. I thought it was a concussion based on that hit. But
Yeah. But then when you watch the all 22, it looked like his knee gave out prior to him getting hit. At least that's what I saw. But I had no idea. But yeah, we weren't really prepared for the ABT. It kind of like, okay, elbow. And so like for it to be a tricep injury and he's done for the year, like that totally took me by surprise. But anyway, they both
hopefully
really
it doesn't flare
suck.
up again. Hopefully it doesn't flare up again. But at the same time, like I'm better with a triceps injury than like a leg injury. Even though both of them could rear their ugly head, obviously. Hopefully he gets obviously healed up and the Jets can rebound. Because listen, at this point, like this game is huge against the Pats, and obviously we'll talk about it. But like the next couple of games are pretty tough in terms of and obviously to see how this like how it breaks with injuries, etc. But you have the Pats, the Bills, the Pats, the Vikings like are tied into the next couple of games. So if they can get this game, it would be massive because you get the 6 wins. In the AFC this year, 9 wins should get you in. But the Jets, if they get the 6th win, should easily be able to get to 10, or at least in my opinion, if they really want to be a playoff team. You win this game, you have teams, again, like the Jags, the Lions, the Bears. If they want to be a playoff team, that's 3 wins. You're looking at 9. Can you steal one in Foxborough? Can you steal one in Miami? Can you steal one in Seattle, which I didn't even include? Can you steal one in Minnesota? Like it's very doable. So this game is huge because you're assuming a loss to the Bills, which you got to play the game. But I think we'd all bet in this chat that they're going to lose to the Bills. So.
Yeah, the Bills to me have been the team since preseason, and anything we've seen this season hasn't proven otherwise. So they are the team, and to play them twice is, it just kind of sucks that the Jets almost don't really have a really good shot at the division. But hey, listen, maybe they do. I mean, they would have to beat the Bills at least once to even have a prayer. But it's going to be interesting. But the thing is, we always talked about how at the beginning of the year the schedule's a little rough, and then it's going to soften up. It ended up being a little bit easier than we expected, but now the back end, like nobody expected the Bears to be good, but we didn't expect the Vikings to be this good, and we didn't expect the Seahawks, the Geno Smith Seahawks, to be this good. So the second half is not looking as easy as we initially thought, but it's very realistic. The thing is there are a couple teams that the Bengals and the Ravens, we have to be rooting for a Ravens loss tonight because they have the wild card tiebreaker over us, as do the Bengals. So I've been rooting for those teams to lose every week. As much as I hate seeing the Giants win a game, I was happy when they beat Baltimore because, that head-to-head tiebreaker, it sucks when you lose to a team that has beaten you and then they get in over you. But, that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and I really do think, like, and I'm not saying the Jets would necessarily win those games, but I think those Ravens game and the Bengals game are at least much more competitive versus this Jets team than the Jets team of the first 3 weeks. But, yeah, at this point, you got to root against every single AFC team pretty much, because obviously a lot can happen in 10 weeks. So, you see an AFC team playing, root for a loss. If you see an AFC team playing with more wins than another AFC team they're playing, root for the team with less wins. Like that's what it is at this point. And it's really nice to be talking about playoffs and all this stuff, Kyle, on Thursday, October 27th, when in the past, what game 2 or 3, we're like, oh well, draft. What are we thinking? Tough schedule, like. So it is kind of crazy, and it's very nice to be talking about playoffs. Now, obviously, it sucks with our 2 best players on offense going down, but I do think the Jets can rally. And we talk about like the Seahawks. Listen, 4-3. I'm still not terrified of the roster. Like I know their rookies have stepped up, but it's not a game that going into it I think the Jets should not win, especially if you're fighting for that playoff spot. Win the damn Seahawks game, And the Vikings are 5-1 right at this point, but. Look at who
When's the last time the Jets ever won in Seattle, though? Like, I can't even think, like, in the last, 15 years, a time where the Jets won there.
Well, the Jets have sucked really, really bad the last 15 years.
Kyle. I know, and they don't go to Seattle a lot. I'm just saying, when we do go there, it's bad. It's bad. Like, last time we went there, we got, basically shut out.
Mm-hmm. And you talk about, the Broncos game, too, the feeling, how long this game was. Not only because of the injuries, how ugly the game was. This is a game, with the feeling I left with. that we get blown out by, like last year was a 27-0. Like it felt like that, but we won, which is very, very odd for the Jets. But that's 100% a game they lose the last 12 or so years. So, all right, let's. Justin Sanders, what's up?
The point that I just made about the Seahawks, you could say we don't play well in Denver, and we did get the W. So, and that's all that really matters. So,
David Stein in here probably listening. Did you catch the David Stein thing or no?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
But there was another reference that I would wonder if you would catch it. Well, please explain the David Stein thing.
Well, one, you're probably gonna hear my dog bark because my wife just left and he goes crazy when my wife leaves. So I apologize if you're hearing my dog bark, but it is what it is. But it was like a burner account. Everybody thinks it's a burner account. I could send you some of the tweets.
Oh, was that the Elijah Moore thing?
Yeah, but it he created it, commented on a bunch of Elijah Moore stuff, and then it got called out for the burner, and then deleted it.
Yeah,
within the same couple days. Yeah, but go ahead with what you're about to say.
Oh no. That I was just curious about something else, but just go through the chat and we'll eventually talk about it.
Yeah. Anyone looks like a great start next to AVT. We'll see how Herbig does now that AVT isn't in anymore. I still think Herbig is below average, but saying below average is okay. Like he's still, to me, which nobody's gonna take solace in this, but like he's still better than GVR and Brian Winters of the past couple of years. Like he's not going to be brutal because AVT is gone. And again, when you have Fant back, hopefully, or Max Mitchell, hopefully the play improves a little bit from Agba or whatever the hell his name is, Bowie. So Matt McCormick run the score. I want nothing more than the Jets to blow the shit off the doors of the Pats this week. Like I cannot.
Dude, we're partying. We're smoking a cigar in the parking lot if that happens afterwards.
Kyle's smoking a cigar. All right, I'm down. I'm down to smoke a cigar after, especially if they win. Oh yeah. Either way, depression cigar or a win cigar. It's kind of how I do it.
I'm not doing it if I lose. No way.
Either way. Nick Integra, what's good, fellas? Can't wait for Sunday. Hope the stadium is shaking. Yeah, it should be. And I'm not trying to call anybody out at all, but I see people who don't go to the games saying the stadium should be shaking. I'm like, so you're not contributing, but you're saying the stadium should be shaking. So if you're saying this stuff, Knicks, you better be going. That's all I'm saying. For all the people who want it shaking, go. Buy the tickets. Don't want any Pats fans in there. Hopefully there's freaking, maybe 5%, 10%. They're depressed about Chicago. They see the Jets are going to beat the shit out of them. They don't want to go. And we're going to rock the fucking stadium. Like that's how it needs to be. We need to take over that stadium and not let any Pats fans in there.
Yeah. Pats fans they're one of the more popular fan bases in the NFL, but even last year, the home opener, I don't remember a ton of Pat fans being there percentage wise. I almost feel like for the Ravens home opener this year, there was more Ravens fans than I remember Pat fans. I could be wrong about that, but there's less reason for the Pats to be optimistic this year, given what we've seen through, their first 7 games. So, 5%, that number would probably be a little low, but
5%. Let's do it. Sell at the fucking stadium. Come on,
dude. If it's 90% Jets fans, that would be great.
I just want to see an absolute packed house because I haven't been to a Jets game in a while where like the upper level, like because you go to a game like even the Ravens game, like it was ready to like be loud, but the upper deck you still had sections with like I don't know how many seats are in a section, maybe 20, 25. You'd see like some sections up there with like 3-4 people, and it's like this is depressing. But with that being said, I do understand the PSLs and et cetera. The Jets suck. Let's hit a few super chats, get back to the chat, and then we'll run through the game, a bunch of other stuff. The NY Bully, appreciate the $10 super chat for sure. He says, I'm not giving up on Zach because his mechanics indicate that he'll be a solid QB once he masters the mental side of the game. Too many impatient, fickle Jets fans out there. Jets 27, Pat 17. Let's fucking go. I'll take 27-17 all day. I want even more of a blowout than that, but at the end of the day, I just want to win.
10-point win in the NFL is great. So
it's great. I want like 40-3. Like I want that. Now will that happen? Probably not, but I'm wishing for that. But at the end of the day, again, it doesn't say your win column.
Obviously the Jets have had some nice wins over Belichick throughout the years, but I can't ever think of a blowout, or I can't think of any game where they didn't win where it was at least somewhat close. You could say the divisional game. It was 28-14 and the Pats scored a late garbage time touchdown and made it 28-21. So obviously that's not a blowout, but that was kind of like maybe one of the most convincing wins that the Jets had against the Pats over the years. So yeah, a blowout, man, that would be nice.
Yeah,
And
we
thank
haven't
you
been
so
in
much,
many
my
games.
bully, for the super chat.
We haven't been in many games where it's like a blowout. Like the Packers game in that second half, like started to feel like a blowout where we can like kind of celebrate even before the Jets actually won. But to do that in MetLife, completely different ball game. But I will push back a little bit on the mechanics indicate he'll be a solid QB. His mechanics are a big problem right now.
Big, big, big,
Yeah,
big.
it's that front foot is always turned too far inside. He always inner rotates off that back foot, which locks out that front foot. When you lock out that front foot and you kick that front leg or that back leg back, you're not allowing your hips to fully rotate over, and then it becomes all arm. You have that, and then you have like little things like that. And we'll talk about him, I guess, in a little bit, like to fuller extent. But like that, and then even the ball to Uzama on that Y cross. Like there's no reason for him to be fading back like he does.
Yep.
So that's a part of mechanics too. Like step up in the pocket, take a hit, and deliver that ball. So you have that, and then the mental part of the game, which I guess we're just getting into it now. You have the throw to Conklin where he can get some yak. He double clutches the ball for no reason. And then like last week was more mental too, with like you saw some concepts where he can hit the guy underneath, and he didn't. But he's been better with his accuracy. But it's still not ideal. Like the throw to Barrios, I kind of argued, okay, there's a couple of linebackers there. There's a safety, put it behind him. I'm okay with that. The Mims throw on was it a knife concept where it was the inside corner and the outside slant. Now, I'm okay with him just putting it on Mims, and Mims should have caught that ball regardless. I know for the Mims truthers out there, they're going to say no way because it hits him both in the hands, even though it's behind him. But mechanics are bad again, and he misses Mims behind him. Again, it's not like sorry, let me rephrase. He didn't miss him. He did not put it in an ideal spot for Mims to catch that ball. So his mechanics have not been good. And to me, like last year, it looks like he was just trying not to like miss the open layup. And this year, and I remember hearing, I think it was before the game, which by the way, Charles Davis, I don't know how deep the Broncos are down that guy's throat, but Jesus, dude, just one of the worst announcers I've ever heard in my life. Like first time like really listening. So I don't really listen to games. Usually I go or like whatever. But terrible. But nonetheless, I don't know where I was going with that.
You were talking about last year, Zach. You felt like it was like more.
I got it. So before the game, I heard like a quote. I think I believe it was, maybe I'm just making it up in my head, but Zach Wilson was saying something like these are games we're expecting to win. Like and when I heard it, I was kind of like, oh, and then you see him like double clutching, being a little bit hesitant. Not ideal. And then Kyle, even that play, which again, we're talking about the offensive line. The offensive, Laken Tomlinson looked like absolute ball cheese again, which shocker. But the play where he does that like double reverse pivot or like the twirls.
And
I don't know if you watched.
Almost fumbled it. That one.
Almost fumbled it, or maybe he did. I still don't know. But that play, you have Corey Davis wide open on the sideline. He's wide open, and all the plays are going to the left side. Again, go watch the film review. It just came out a couple of hours ago or whatever. They're all to the left side, so he should be looking to the left side. Corey Davis is sitting there with nobody 10 yards around him, and Wilson decides to pull the ball down again and do another twirl.
There was another play around the same time in that game where he had Garrett Wilson really open on an out too and didn't see it. But even though he was, his reads indicated he was looking in that direction first.
Yeah, so, the play where Braxton Berrios runs like that bubble, and like, it's not ideal. Like the Broncos are pressed up a little bit on it, but give your guy a chance to make a play. He could have picked up 4 or 5 yards. Or maybe 6, 10, 15. Like he's really good with the ball in his hands. And Zach Wilson pulls the ball and then runs and takes a sack. So he's hesitant right now. His accuracy isn't as bad as last year, but it's definitely off. I said hesitant, but gun shy. Like he needs to improve his play. And listen,
there's no more inaccurate quarterback in the league right now than him.
No, and
simple.
And I'm not a big numbers guy, and I'm sure the numbers are out there in some form, but he's been very bad under pressure. And I could argue that some of the reason he's so bad under pressure is maybe the Jets are facing different pressure than other teams because, other teams you have like conflict climbs. Okay, the pocket is pinching up a little bit. Okay, you want him to step up in the pocket and throw the ball. But when you have your left guard not reacting to the snap like his fucking controller died, it's going to be hard to escape that pressure and have.
That was a funny tweet.
Like what is going on? So, but with that being said, I think the easy thing and listen, you are going to get the brutal, honest truth in the show. And that's why I think a lot of people like it, or at least some people like it. Zach Wilson, don't give him the excuse of they play the Broncos. The Broncos do it to everybody, which I get, but at the same time, he missed wide open reads and wide open throws in this game. I'm not saying I need the guy to go for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, but when you look the way he looked, and he only had a little bit over 100 yards. Last week he was only a little bit over 100 yards. He has 1 touchdown. And okay, the Miami game, he could have had 2 more touchdowns, et cetera, et cetera. But people kind of compare him to that Josh Allen second-year trajectory. Josh Allen was definitely producing some more numbers. With that being said, I get different systems, much different in terms of how their offense attacks defenses. Listen, at the end of the day, if we can run the ball and win, awesome. But when there's a wide open CJ Uzomah and a wide cross, I don't want Zach Wilson to backpedal and throw the ball over his head. So I think I brought up a lot. Whatever you want to add there, Kyle. I'm sure there's some more plays to add, or obviously I want your very respected opinion.
Oh, you don't have to gas me up like that. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to think of any situations or any throws that you didn't mention that I wanted to mention. I think you hit on all of them to my knowledge. So yeah, I mean, I keep going back to the fact that I think some of the stuff is very correctable. I mean, a lot of the throws that he's missing, this is stuff that we've seen him hit in college. Like, Zach's junior year at BYU, he was hitting some of these throws in his sleep, and it's not lack of ability. He certainly has the arm to do it. If and when he becomes more comfortable in the system and he's not thinking as much about his mechanics and he trusts his receivers more. I saw that somebody was saying that Zach doesn't trust any receiver not named Berrios. He also definitely has a very good trust with Corey Davis. We could say that for sure. And obviously Corey Davis missed a huge portion of this game. I think, when there isn't that level of trust, some of your mechanics might also go to shit. But it's bad. It's bad. And, I have seen a little bit of growth, and Joe kind of indicated that a little bit. Like, a lot of these, like, throws into the into the curl flat area, some of these swing passes and stuff. He was way worse at throwing those types of passes last year. I tweeted out early in the game, like when he hit Berrios on a nice flare swing route. By the way, I noticed that when Joe said, whenever someone says a little, they don't know what they're talking about. So I just said that, and I'm feeling stupid right now.
I might say that too. Like I might catch myself, but it's usually with plays like, oh, they run a little counter here, or they run a little sweep. I'm like, it's not counter and it's not a sweep. But when people say little, watch out what they're talking about, because I noticed that with a lot of people when they bring up the wrong play and they don't know what they're talking about, they say a little a lot. And that's a bunch of different people, not just 1 or 2 or 3. I'm not taking shots at anybody. So I can't think of people who do it. I'm not going to say, but like, nonetheless, when you hear a little bit of alarm bell should go off. But continue.
Yeah. So when that pass to Berrios, I mean, it's a little throw, and anyone should. I just said it again. Anyone should be able to make it. But like, he literally hit him in stride, and Berrios quickly, turned from catch to run and got a first down. So that was a good one. I feel like sometimes with some of his, you could say, inaccurate off-target throws, like the one to Berrios that Berrios ended up dropping, I'm pretty sure that wasn't so much Zach missing as Zach, trying to avoid the apex defender. And, Zach does this a lot where he tries to not get a receiver rocked. So he'll maybe throw it behind him a little bit so he doesn't go into a safety that's going to rock him or whatever. So there's a little bit of that too. But the pass to Uzomah is kind of unforgivable, and the whole hesitation, it's so anyone, and they even highlighted this on the broadcast, the play to Conklin, any average football fan. I was actually watching some film earlier this morning with some, students before first period started, and that play actually popped up. And these are some kids who don't even watch football, and they could see, oh, wow, why is he double clutching there? Like, why is he, they didn't use those words, but like, why is he hesitating so much when the guy's clearly wide open? I mean, so Zach is not seeing things very well right now. And I think that's definitely part of the whole mechanical issues thing. And I think some of it can be corrected, but, and it is quite correctable. But I mean, you almost wonder, like, what problem would you rather have? Would you rather have a quarterback who's not confident, or who can't read defenses? I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
we're having some problems right now with Zach for sure.
Yeah, I think his improving or reading of the defenses has improved. Like, he's not putting the ball as much in harm's way, but he definitely is being hesitant and overthinking things a little bit in terms of just releasing the ball when it's open. Like that.
By the way, that throw to Simmons that Simmons almost picked off, which ended up being a DPI. Somebody held Berrios. Yeah. I understand that maybe the play goes out a little bit differently. That was still, even if Berrios isn't held there, I think that's still an awful decision and throw.
Oh
Right?
yeah, I don't know who's bringing up that play, Kyle, but like I hammered that one. Like that was a brutal decision by Zach. Just in terms of the coverage he was seeing, like that seam route or bender was carrying those two deep defenders, and Garrett Wilson has a chance, and we bring up some other plays too, like Corey Davis later in the game, and this wasn't the first one. Corey Davis on that dig route, he misses them too far inside. It wasn't as bad as the first. It was the first play of the game. They run another dagger concept, with that seam route from the inside, and Corey Davis on the dig, and he missed him. He threw it like 10 yards over his head. So he was brutal this game. He was very bad. So I get the excuses. He does not deserve those excuses he's getting for that game. Now, is he done? No, he's not putting the ball necessarily in harm's way, minus the Justin Simmons play, which the flag was thrown after. That could have easily been a pick. That play is just as bad to me. Like people like quantify it by like, oh, well, the stats say it wasn't a pick, so I'm not going to think about it as a pick. His processing there was a brutal pick because he got lucky the flag was thrown.
By the way, Joe, I don't know if you mentioned this play.
Yeah.
I think you might have. The play towards I don't know if it was fourth quarter yet, but it had to be close to the fourth quarter, where Zach scrambles out and drifts back really far and almost hits Conklin on like a scramble drill type play. That one. Like where like Conklin's running some type of crosser from the left. He starts at the left side of the field and he comes over. Zach drifts back so far, but Conklin starts to scramble towards the middle of the field, and Zach almost hits him in the middle of the field, like while he's like jumping and fading back. That play, So I saw Ben, Jets X Factor contributor and Cool Your Jets podcast host.
Is this gonna be a good thing or a bad thing about Ben? If it's a bad thing, just say Cool Your Jets.
No, it's a good thing about Ben.
Okay.
So Ben was saying like, because there's a lot of people trashing Zach and rightfully so. And Ben was saying, okay, but at some point, are we going to give Zach some credit for like spinning out and keeping some of these plays alive? And it's like, yeah, that is pretty impressive that he's doing that. It's like, I want to start to see him to hit some of these scramble drill plays. Like I know he almost had the one to Corey and he did hit some of them against Pittsburgh or whatever, but he is doing this a lot. But it seems like, and he almost had the pick in the end zone against the Packers the previous week. It's like he's trying to make shit happen in an unconventional way quite often, and it seems like most of the times when he does that, it's almost ending in disaster. Like that play is really fun, but even on that play, and I don't have I wish like we could pull up the clip right now. I didn't clip it. He had somebody open. It might have been Garrett Wilson. He had somebody open early in that play and didn't see him for whatever reason. He didn't even need to scramble there. Like, yes, did pressure come in really quick? Yes, but he had somebody open. I think it was Garrett Wilson. So again, it's like, like there's so much stuff going on in that play. Like you have somebody open, hit it. But a lot of it was just like, okay, let me fade back and try to create something out of nothing. No, you had something there. Like Kirk Cousins isn't going to do that. Kirk Cousins is going to see that and hit that throw, whereas Kirk doesn't have the athletic ability. So it's like, yeah, you don't want to give up on the kid yet. And somebody said something like, oh, well, Zach, some people were saying Sam Darnold was a bust at this point. I certainly was not saying Sam Darnold was a bust 17 games in. Not me.
Yeah, but, and Zach Wilson, like you talk about BYU, like he was hitting those sideline throws with much better accuracy, like dots on the sideline. So
it was
I think
all the time, man. All the time.
And with like, and I my dog just ripped ass. That was so loud. It's gonna smell so bad in here.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I'm hoping he doesn't shit on the floor, but it is what it is. That was a bad one. So like you're saying, like, and last year, like when he scrambled out, like I feel like last year he's making more things happen. Where this year again, when he reverse pivots or twirls, whatever we're gonna call it, people on Twitter keep saying twirl, make the throw. I think his eyes are dropping a little bit more than they did last year. And he's not like at least he would chuck the ball up. To some people actually, the Titans game, he hasn't really had many of those plays, minus the Corey Davis throw, maybe the one try to Conklin deep. But listen, at the end of the day, Zach Wilson had a okay game against the Steelers, kind of bad before the fourth quarter, and then lit it the hell up. Miami game, I don't care what the stats say. I was very impressed. The Packers game wasn't brutal. It wasn't as brutal as the Saints game last year, or what's the Pats game last year. This game, he didn't put the ball in harm's way, minus that one time where it should have been a pick, or obviously there's the pass interference, but nonetheless, he's not playing as low as he did last year at certain points. But we need improvement from him unequivocally. We need to improve it. This is not good enough.
Yeah.
But
and quickly,
go ahead. Oh, okay, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Quickly, especially listen, James Robinson, nice addition. He's not exact replacement of Breece Hall. Like Breece Hall, like Robert Saleh said numerous times, he's a home run hitter. I said Breece Hall is him last week. I don't know if that was a curse or whatever.
But, it was a curse. You're like, oh, I've never said this before. But
God damn it,
he's him. He gets fucking injured. So no more.
Shit.
Nobody is him, Kyle Smith. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying that expression ever again.
Okay.
But yeah, so losing Breece Hall, I mean, we're talking about how he was a home run hitter last week, and then he goes out and hits a 60-yard, 2-yard touchdown. None of these guys, Carter or James Robinson, don't expect those types of long runs. So like you can't really replace that. So of course you go out and make a trade for Robinson because you want to rely on the run game. But losing Breece Hall is going to hurt your run game pretty significantly, especially when you lose AVT as well. Zach absolutely needs to step up and needs to step up quick. So.
Yeah, and we faced some tough defenses initially, but listen, there's gonna be games like the Jags and the Bears where let's see him throw for 300 yards. I'm not a big stats guy. Like if the ground game's working, sure, but like he needs to have a couple games where he lights some teams up. Like we need to see that with this team around him, even though it's not necessarily ideal. But I think Corey Davis to be out this year, or at least this game. But we have guys like Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson out there, and still. I would say a solid 1-2 punch at running back. It went from really, really good to okay, solid. He should be able to produce. But let's go to the couple super chats. The NY Bully. Any chance we bring in? Yes, 10, 15 total. I appreciate it. Any chance we bring in Larry McTunsell? Also, Dribble and Kyle are the most knowledgeable Jets analysts I've heard. Appreciate that, my friend. Much appreciation. We appreciate you. We appreciate your money. We just appreciate you in general. I'm kidding, obviously, but. We'll talk about this in a little bit. I have to see his contract numbers. The only thing with Larry McTunsell is what is he going to cost you? Is it going to be a second round pick? A second and a fourth. Like we have to kind of discuss the compensation.
And you're probably going to play him at right tackle. I mean, he's been a left tackle for most of his career. I mean, you're not going to shift Brown over to right tackle. So
that's the thing. Then Brown becomes a $10 million backup because you're not taking Larry McTunsell, trading for him. And I think he has 2 years left on his contract. If you trade for him, you're signing him, and then that's your tackle for the next 4, 5, 6 years. Like that's the plan. So then Brown becomes a backup. So is it worth it for Brown to become a backup? Not ideal, but at the same time, if you can get a Larry McTunsell level player as your left tackle for the next couple of years, and then you lock up that spot, it sounds like I would assume that Connor McGovern's coming back next year. ABT's gonna be right guard. Laken Tomlinson's locked for better or worse. So if you bring in Tunsil, okay, what happens at right tackle? I obviously have Max Mitchell, and I'm assuming it'd be an early draft pick. I don't think Fant's coming back this or next year, so that'd be like your only like hole in the offensive line. But listen, next year Tomlinson hopefully will bounce back to at least like somewhat towards the mean. But next year you roll in with Tunsil, Brown as a backup, Tomlinson, McGovern, ABT, and Mitchell / question mark at right tackle. You're looking at a pretty damn good offensive line. So I think there's a chance, but with that being said, I think we're looking at more like the Dillards of the world, which we'll get into some guys in a little bit.
Or even Conklin seems a little bit more likely than
right
Tunsil.
Tackle, and he's not owed a lot of money the next 2 years, and he's pretty solid. So
yeah, and also just like Conklin was a free agent signing as opposed to Tunsil. They gave up serious draft capital to trade for Tunsil. I understand it was a different GM and front office running things down there in Houston, but so. Do you want to part ways? Like you'd figure you'd have to give up more to get Tunsil because he's also like a higher quality player. Like Larry Tunsil should have been a top 5 pick. A lot of people are saying he was the best player in the draft, should have won number 1 overall. And we all know what happened. Gas mask stuff before the draft and slips to the hated Miami Dolphins.
I condone the gas mask. The thing is, it's just like at a certain point, I have zero problem with people smoking weed. To me, again, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to get all about that, but like, you cannot tell me that's worse than drinking alcohol. Like I do a lot more dumb shit when I was drinking than when I smoked, in the past. I smoke. I want to eat taquitos and watch Netflix, but nonetheless, with that being said, like I can't wear a black undershirt at work, so I don't wear a black undershirt at work. Is it illegal or kind of dumb? I can't wear a black undershirt. Yeah, sure, but I'm still not going to do it. So yeah, that's why he dropped. But he's still a stud tackle. But like you said, I think, and I can bring up the numbers in a little bit. Conklin is owed like less than $10-ish million the next 2 years, and he's still a solid tackle. So you can bring him in. Okay, then you have Brown. You have Brown and Conklin as your tackles. Your guards are obviously figured out for next year. You bring back McGovern, and then you develop a guy. So I think that'd be a very nice solution to the problems the Jets are having right now. To bring in Conklin. But I feel like it was a little bit overrated by fans in general when we were talking about him, bringing him in, but he's still at least solid. So I would be a big proponent of bringing a guy like Jack Conklin. Now, with that being said, Kyle, what would you be willing to give up for a guy like Conklin? I'll pull up his numbers real quick so we can just reference it.
If I'm not mistaken, and I did look up his game logs the past couple of years, I felt like he was an injury-prone person, and obviously he was injured earlier this year. We didn't play against him when we played against Cleveland in week 2. I feel like he's a player who gets nicked up a decent amount. He is only 28, right? So he's not very old, but I wonder, is a third-round pick too high? That's the question I'm asking myself in my head right now, because I would love to add him, right? If we're talking Ogbehi versus Jack Conklin, or even Max Mitchell versus Jack Conklin, if and when he can come back. And somebody, I don't know if it's a verifiable, legit account, but somebody was saying that they don't even know what Fant's availability is going to be like. That almost makes it seem like to me that he might not be available at all for the rest of this year, or, maybe not till late this year. Well, we need somebody quick. So, and listen, Zach Wilson's numbers under pressure are bad versus when he's clean. They're not horrible. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
So, we don't want the kid under pressure. So, I'm definitely interested in picking up a player like him versus Dillard. I mean, like, I know Dillard was a first-round pick, but I don't think he's really done much in his career. So I am more interested in Conklin, even though you wonder, okay, Joe Douglas had a vision for Dillard, and supposedly he was the one who was banged on the table to get him over in Philadelphia. So you wonder if he gets a change of scenery, if he can develop some of that talent he does have. I think that's more unlikely than Conklin coming in here and being solid. Definitely no higher than a third-round pick, but I am wondering if that's too high. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like that's proper. If you can tell me you're getting a solid tackle for, at least the next 2.5 years, I think a third-round pick would be worth it. Especially considering the contract. Now, I'm not good with contracts, so 2023 and 2024 are void years, so I'm not sure exactly how that would work out. And his cap number in 2023 is $6 million, and his cap number in 2024 is 0, with his dead money being $3 million. And so I'm not sure exactly how that works out, the void years with him, to be completely honest. But even if you get him for a relatively decent price, I think a third-round pick is probably about right. And I at this point, based on us being able to hopefully push for the playoffs, I think it would be worthwhile.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad we see eye to eye on that.
Moving on to the next. I don't know why my dog just did that moan. Maybe he might have to take a poop. So I might have to leave. For
I didn't even know that was a dog. I wondered if that was a person, but I was like, I don't think that's your wife.
Pretty much never heard that sound before from him. So he might be looking to poop right now. So
why don't you go take care of him?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna pull this up though. Cigars for everyone. Jan, I appreciate that a lot, my friend. It's Jan. Is it you on Twitter who was arguing with that guy? If it was you, Jan, listen, when people come out with really, really stupid takes like that, just ignore it. It's so easy to mute people. But with that being said, Kyle, I'm gonna try to take him outside. So give me like 5 minutes.
Okay. Which time? Okay. I don't know what timestamp he's at, so I know he likes to go in order. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jan, for the super chat, $20. And Jan, if you, I know you were at the stadium last time I was there. Please do let us know if and when you're there this time. I'm assuming we'll be in J1. He says that's his spot. All right. I'm just gonna pick up from a random spot. Let's see. Eagle fan, Kadarius Toney or Elijah Moore? Which one is the most toxic player? That is a good question. It seems like you'd have to say Toney, because it seems like almost everything out of Toney's been more bad than good, whereas Elijah Moore was kind of like one incident, although really big one. Sam Darnold was better at this stage with a worse team. He's a bust. Does that make Zach Wilson a super bust? Yeah, this is what I was talking about before. I did see this comment from Daniel C. I didn't say that Sam Darnold was a bust 17 games into his career. I never said that. I did, however, say that he was a bust 3 games into his 3rd year, which would make that his, I don't know what start, but maybe around his 30th start or whatever. So the point is Zach needs to figure stuff out quickly. I will also say this too. My eval coming out of college was higher on Zach than it was Sam Darnold. So that would give him a little bit, to me, a little bit longer of a leash, but not too much. I think it's fair to say that Darnold is better than Zach 17 games into their career. I don't think I'd argue with that. I just the ceiling and stuff and the college tape to me with Zach is better. So I honestly I'm disappointed in Zach. So anyway, 30-year Jet fan, 2009 we were in the AFC Championship game. So I think you're comparing noise level of stadiums and stuff. Draft CJ Mosley replacement. Is CJ Mosley still pretty solid? But yeah, they do need to figure out eventually, because I don't think Mosley's going to be here past next year. I don't see how they can continue to hold on to that contract past then, especially if Zach ends up being the guy and you got to pay him. You'd figure Mosley would be the easiest contract to part with, and they're going to have to pay Quinnen Williams too. So they absolutely have to. And I've been one of the biggest people. I feel like my evaluation with Quinnen Williams was pretty fair, honestly. He's so much better this year than he was last year. It's like night and day. So, it was kind of like, prove it to me. I know he has the ability. I've seen it before. I've seen it in college. I've even seen flashes in the NFL. So, he shut me up this year, and I'm glad he has. Okay. Joe, I asked you right before you went, but I didn't think you heard me. I was like, what time stamp were you at? So I could try to go from there.
We're still pretty far behind. But let's get through a good amount of. I'm going to run through it. Anything that sticks out, I will pull it up. But Matt McCormick wrote the score 100%. That's all I want. And at this point, it's like I remember before the Packers game, it's like, oh, just take two out of the next three. Just take two out of the next three. Now it's like you got to have this win. So we keep raising the bar, but the team is putting us in a position where we should be raising the bar, right? So I am definitely excited for that game. Very important. Just had mashed potatoes for dinner. Thoughts, Joe? That is not a well-balanced meal, my friend. Very odd. But hopefully it was some homemade mashed potatoes instead of the store-bought box ones. I don't know what's going on. Mark Riss, what's up? Let's see. Ripien was our first QB during our winning streak to start and finish the game. I imagine whoever the Pats start won't finish the game against us. Yeah, interesting situation with the Pats in terms of Mac Jones and Zappe. Now, wasn't the plan all along to play Zappe because maybe Mac Jones' knee wasn't 100%? I don't know, but either way, not the best handling of the quarterback situation for Bill Belichick to either play Mac Jones when he's not healthy or to bench him after two bad drives and now he's starting again. So things might maybe in shambles.
I could tell you this, and by the way, it's not his knee; it's Mac Jones' ankle.
Okay, sorry.
He had a bad high ankle sprain like 4-ish weeks ago, but so. I actually, on very, very rare occasions, a guilty pleasure is sometimes I'll listen to like Patriots podcasts, like when shit's going bad for them. So I listened to one being that we're playing this week and they just got stomped by the Bears at home.
Yeah.
So I was listening and so this is like people who like work for the Patriots and they actually they hired one person, Evan Lazar, who's like actually like a guy who understands like all 22 and film breakdowns and stuff. And I can tell you that there's a lot of Patriots fans, like just from hearing people calling into the show and the people who work there, that there is at least some kind of doubt within the Patriots fan base and even seemingly what the coaching staff too, if Mac is the guy for the future. So there's at least some level of doubt there. And it's even interesting too that they were saying, and I haven't really watched much Patriots this year. I mean, like here and there. Apparently, like the way that they've been running the offense, Zappe versus Mac Jones, very different. Like they were saying that Mac Jones, they were kind of almost running like a Bruce Arians style offense where you're having like, three verticals on any given play versus everything with like Bailey Zappe was like 3-step and get it out. So they were switching up the offense quite well. And they were saying, listen, Evan Lazar was saying that Mac Jones, he doesn't have the arm talent to run a Bruce Arians style offense. So the type of offense they were running for Mac Jones is just not suiting of him. So you have to wonder, okay, so they said Mac Jones is a starter this week. I believe Belichick's a smarter coach than that and doesn't keep making the same mistakes over and over. I think we're going to see a lot more quick stuff this week than we've been seeing in previous weeks, which means that rally up, make fucking tackles. Don't let Ramondre Stevenson break tackles and stuff. Don't let Devontae Parker break tackles. And, the Patriots are going to have less flashy plays and it's going to be a more gritty game, but you'll probably see less mistakes from someone like Mac Jones because he's had a good amount of interceptions this year. Anyway.
Yeah, and even last year, like his last 7 or 8 starts, like he has not been very good. So do you? I prefer Mac Jones, like especially Like you see the plays of like him throwing a pick and like trying to twist guys' ankles or kick guys in the nuts. Like I want him to get his shit rocked. I really do. Like I don't root for injuries, but do I want to see him gasping for air a little bit on Sunday? I do. I'm not gonna lie. Not
Yeah, it'd be
injured.
nice to see him crying on the sideline and stuff. That would be great.
Jets will win, hopefully. CD, Jets going to be there. Jets going to be there, yes, 100%. Elijah Moore.
Did you say definitely J1 for sure?
Always J1. J1 for life.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it's not always J1, Joe. I've seen you there, not at J1 before. And you also did mention how you're going to potentially link up with some Let's Talk Jets guys. So I had to ask.
I don't know when have you called me there where it wasn't J1, Kyle. I'd like to press you on that a little bit. I think I've been there for like
home
10
opener.
years.
Adam Gase's home opener against the Bills.
Adam Gase's home
2019
opener.
You were not in
J10?
J1. I don't know. It wasn't J1.
I don't know. Nonetheless, let's see. Again, I have to scroll to the chat pretty quickly. Snowball, what's up? What's up, you filthy animals?
What's the reference for that?
Home Alone. I don't know the original movie, but Home Alone is the reference I get that from. Why? What's the original movie, Kyle? Go ahead.
No. I was just seeing if you were gonna get it. You got it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna squid it up. Joe, you don't have the hair to pull off the deep. No, I do not. But I don't think many of us have the characteristics we of the people we're trying to pull off. Have you ever been Batman, Michael? Are you Batman? Probably not. I'm sorry. Socrates, what's up? Let's see. Kyle, you right, Joe getting soft on Emo already. No, it's like it's I want the Jets to win at the end of the day. If he's scoring touchdowns, great. I'm not going to root for him. Like I'm not going to don his jersey ever again, that's for sure. Kid acted like a kid. It's whatever, as long as he develops. Listen, we're not going to get all into it again because we have a lot to recap in the next hour, but it was one of the most selfish moves I've seen in the last 10 years of watching the NFL of terms of a guy in the second year requesting a trade. I've pretty much never seen that before. So.
And he's a professional athlete, and you best listen, these kids go through rigorous interview processes and things like this, and he has, millions of dollars on the line. He's been coached up that you're not supposed to be a me selfish person. Teams don't like that. He knew better. Yet he still did that. Yes, our kid's more likely to make mistakes like that, but let's not act like he doesn't know better.
For sure. Matt Damon in American History X. I don't know if I've ever seen that. Curve stopping Patriots player. So.
No, it's not Matt Damon. That's it's the dude from Fight Club. Edward Norton.
Edward Norton. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going through the chat. I guess the and somebody asked it kind of before. We can talk about the running game. We talked about Zach Wilson. There's really not much to add. But while I scroll through the chat or peruse the chat, Breece Hall obviously now out, and somebody asked, how do we replace that? I don't think Jets really changed their offense much without Breece. I think that they're going to have more split carries between Michael Carter and James Robinson. Obviously, James Robinson's going to take some time to learn the offense thing like that. I think Michael Carter's going to be more of the outside runner and more of the explosive play design runner, where James Robinson is going to be the between the tackles type runner. But I don't really see it much changing in terms of like run to pass. I still think they're going to pound the rock.
Yeah, if you look at a lot of Michael Carter's most impressive plays, even this year and especially last year, is when he's bouncing it, when they give him a bounce read. And I do like LaFleur's comment, because I haven't watched a ton of James Robinson. I know that you started a review on him. But even LaFleur said he's a very no-nonsense type of runner, gets north and south really quick. And I saw that as well. So, I agree with your analysis. He's going to be between the tackles, getting north and south, and being a little bit of a bruiser.
Really important question. Joe, would you rather play Jay Samara at right tackle or Steve McLennan at quarterback? I think there's only one answer there, Kyle. What would you rather have while we keep
Jay Samara at right tackle?
Yeah, you can hide that a little bit. Steve McLennan at corner, you're absolutely fucked. And at least tackle, tight end, he's okay. He could, he's blocked before. So he's done that before, where Steve McLennan, you're just running verts all day. Jets. What's up? Viking security. Is that a Jets fan or a Viking fan? I'm assuming it's a Jets fan since he's in here.
Might be a security company name.
Yeah. Maybe I should invest. Okay, let's see.
By the way, true fact. Joe and I both work security at the same time. Not for the same place.
At the same time. You were in a hospital too, right?
No, I was in various locations, but never a hospital.
Okay, yeah. Jets defense elite. It's and based on the numbers, which I'll pull up right now. I'm trying to entertain my. I've been freaking busy all day. My dog is losing his shit. He's not happy with me right now. But the Jets defense in the last couple of weeks, of course, it's not going to pull up on my computer. Let me pull it up on my phone. Has produced some near elite numbers. Kyle, in the last 4 weeks, they are second in points allowed. They are second in yards per play allowed. They are first in QB hits and sacks. They're second in pass yards per attempt. They're first in QB rating against. They're sixth in yards or like the run game in terms of yardage. They are number 3 in percentage of 10-plus yard plays allowed in terms of just not allowing explosives. They're third in takeaways. They are fifth in pressure rate. So the defense right now is playing near elite. Now, with that being said, we face a struggling Aaron Rodgers, Brett Rypien, Kyle Pickett / Trubisky, and Skylar Thompson. So let's extrapolate that, or hopefully that continues throughout the season. Versus some teams who are going to be better. Obviously, the Bills and the Pats were better coached up some of those other teams. You have obviously the Vikings coming up. You have the Seahawks who are lightening up a little bit. So hopefully it continues, but obviously very positive signs for the defense.
Yeah. No, the defense is making things fun. I want to say it wasn't very fun last year, but they were super young. A lot of these players have, developed a little bit. Quincy's gotten better. The secondary's totally different and playing a lot better. And, even some of these guys like when Eccles comes in, he's in his second year now. Michael Carter, he was obviously really good last year as a rookie, but, he's even better now this year. They're fun. And they've obviously added some guys who can rush the passer. So it's going to be interesting once, how are they going to play against Josh Allen? Because, he's a monster. I hate saying that, but it's the damn truth. And, I was talking to Scott Mason about some people who were, even last year saying that Josh Allen's not good. It's like, what? Like, what are you watching? Like, he's clearly really, really, really good. So it's going to be interesting, like when they go against a great QB and also a great offense, what they can do. So, and that's coming up real soon. So we're going to see.
Slow-mo guy, Joe and Kyle, would you guys be good with us getting swept by the Pats, but going 11-7 and losing the AFC champ? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. 11-7, 1,000 times out of 1,000, and 11-7 when it would be 10-7, right? 10-7.
Well, if they want to play out, I think he's also like he's saying like, could 11-7 be their record if they made the AFC Championship game?
Well, they'd have to have a bye week. They'd have the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I don't think you'd get to 11-7 and also get a bye week. So,
nonetheless, us in any situation getting to the AFC Championship,
12-7. All right,
I'll sign up for that. Jan, again, appreciate the super chat. I'm just passing it now.
Thanks.
But yeah, the running game. I like Michael Carter, and somebody asked us about James Robinson. About his film. Kyle, have you had I'm going to be doing a review tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll record it. It'll be out by hopefully Saturday morning. I watched most of his 2022 season. Did you watch any, and what are your thoughts on one Mr.
No, I only saw some of his highlights. But okay. I'll certainly watch your review when you put it out. Hopefully I'll get to watch it before the game on Sunday.
The one thing he improves from both the running backs, whether it be Breece Hall or Michael Carter, is his pass protection is very, very good. He's definitely a one-cut running back. He brings a lot of speed to the line of scrimmage. Obviously, 5'8", 5'9", about 220. So he's good in terms of contact balance. He's a low center of gravity. He's powerful if you're going to run short yard situations. He has good acceleration. He doesn't have good top end speed, but good acceleration. His vision is spotty. There are times where I definitely want him to hit a cutback or hit a hole with a little bit more decisiveness than he does. There are some times he waits and bounces to the outside. And he's not a guy who's going to stack cuts very, very well in terms of being, at a higher speed and jump cut and then cut again. He is definitely a one cut runner.
Like Breece.
Yeah. So, but with that, if you're asking him to just cut once, he's pretty fast with that. But again, if you're asking him to stack moves, he's smooth when he runs, but he's not explosive when he runs when he's cutting. But with that being said, again, for his size, he's smooth, good pass protector, relatively good vision. It's not great vision, To me, again, he misses some cutbacks, which we'll talk about on the film review. But overall, I like it. And for a 6th round pick, let's just call it a 5th round pick. It's going to be a 5th round pick for him. And some people are saying like, oh, he's replacement level running back. Dude, the guy won rookie of the year in 2020? Like
I don't know, but he was on an absolutely dog shit. I mean, we're talking about one of the worst teams of all time. Like they had a worse record than us that year, if you remember. And you know, he put up those kind of numbers with that team and that coaching staff. So
yeah.
He's definitely not a bad player.
No,
you know, it just so happens that they drafted Travis Etienne, you know, in the 1st round. Very storied collegiate player, and you know, he just had 200 something yards this past week. And and Robinson's going to be a restricted free agent next year. So, hey, you know, how often can you get a 5th round pick for a running back on a contract that's going to expire after the next 10-ish games, especially when you're already out of playoff contention? So it kind of made sense for both teams, if you think about it like that.
I think the Jets of the past just roll with Bam Knight and Ty Johnson. People are like, oh, we have Bam Knight, not to worry. It's like, we have no idea what he's going to be in the regular season. But those teams of the past, they roll.
I would like to see Bam Knight suit up versus Ty Johnson, you know, as that 3rd string running back.
I think in the past couple of weeks, or even really throughout the season, it's been 1-2, you know, just a 1-2 punch with no 3. I think with this injury to Breece Hall, we're going to see the number 3 a little bit. And like you said, I'd much rather see Bam Knight than Ty Johnson. There are people out there, like, again, just pushing the Ty Johnson 3rd down back narrative, which I do not understand. But with that being said, James Robinson is a very, very good pass protector. So I think James Robinson can play, or he should play those 3rd downs. Now he's not an explosive route runner, but he's okay at it. You know, okay hands. One of his problems, though, that I mentioned too, is he has, I think, 8 fumbles and like 550 touches throughout his NFL career, and he carries the ball a little bit oddly too. Like, he doesn't hold the nose; he kind of holds it like by the side of the nose, and a little bit loose. So he doesn't hold the ball really well, which you'd think like easy thing to correct, but I don't. It's weird how he holds it.
That's strange.
Yeah, it is strange, which you'll see in the film review, but. Yeah, so I like the move. Now, in terms of other moves, you know, we talk about James Robinson, I guess, and we'll kind of just run through the game. We're going in really weird order right now, which is kind of fine. Linval Joseph, did you see that he visited? Would you be willing to sign him for, I don't know what the contract would be, you know, for the rest of the year, maybe $1.5 million, $2 million? What do you think about that move and then potentially bringing him in? Which, by the way, I have a review completely queued up with him. I already watched 5 games and did everything for that. So I'm expecting him to be signed, but we'll see.
Nice. Yeah, let's sign him. Absolutely. So you want to talk about, and he's a true nose, right? My understanding.
Yeah. He played a lot of and they ran a lot of 4-3 over with the Chargers, and he was the 1 tech on the backside, and then they ran a lot more bear than I thought they did, and he was a 0. So yeah, he's definitely a true nose. But with that being said, he's not like fully Fatukasi, where he's like elite in run stuffing, where he's not going to move. But he also offers some more explosive pass rushing than Foley did. So
okay, yeah. And I've certainly seen a lot of like really impressive reps throughout the years with his time with the Vikings. I did wonder like how much juice he had left in the tank, because you know, but I feel like I've seen, you know, Brandon Thorne talk about like how, you know, he still does have something, you know, if you're using him in a more limited reps, and you know, with the amount of depth that the Jets have on the defensive line, he's obviously not going to play a high percentage of the snaps. So, you know, he'd be a nice little piece to have in there. So, I mean, the Jets they've afforded themselves. They have some cap and stuff. Use it. You have a legit shot to make the playoffs. You know, let's go for it.
If you could put Linval Joseph for 35-40% of the reps instead of playing guys like, you know, Solomon Thomas, and obviously Nathan Shepard, I still think Solomon Thomas is a little better than he's improving, but.
Yeah, he's been one player who's been a tad bit disappointing to me. You know, watching his film with the Raiders, and even some of his time with Saleh, in San Francisco, I was a little bit more impressed than what I've seen here. And Sheldon Rankins, even though he's kind of had like a little bit of a resurgence, he still gets moved in the run game. Shepard, he's kind of always been better in the pass game than in the run game. So the Jets on the interior defensive line have a little bit of a tendency to still get moved. So to add a guy who's like, you know, not that he's Foley or whatever, to get a guy who's a little bit more stout, but then can also still offer you a little bit of a pass rush, which it makes total sense why the Jets let Fatukasi walk, being that he gives you almost nothing in that department. That's nice. So let's go ahead. Let's add him as long as he's healthy, passes his physical. And stuff.
No, again, make a push for the playoffs. Like, sign him. I don't know exactly what the contract would be. Somebody mentioned Sauce. Revis wasn't Revis year one. Sauce is Sauce. Sauce year one is better than Revis year one. With that being said, Revis to me at his peak is the best corner of all time. I cannot expect that from Sauce. So I guess with that being said, we can, while I keep going through the chat, again, bounce around. We talk about quarterback. We talk about running back. We'll hit the offensive line and some other position groups. But we can talk about corners now, Kyle, because Sauce is Sauce. So what do you think about Sauce so far in his rookie year compared to Revis? And then run through the rest of the cornerback group this game and your thoughts on them.
I'm not going to even try to compare rookie years, Sauce versus Revis, because Revis' rookie year was 2007, and I was not even watching every Jets game broadcast angle back then. It wasn't until 2009 that I started watching every broadcast angle game, and it wouldn't be, even years after that I actually started watching coaches film. So I can't really compare rookie years or whatever, but just based off of vibe that we're getting throughout the league and stuff, and where it seems like Sauce is winning more accolades and respect than Revis did in their first year. But in terms of how Sauce has played, like, not to sound like arrogant or whatever, but just go back and listen to the intro of the show. The only time you hear me speak is talking about Sauce, and I said some really high things about him. I said, like, he's got a really high floor and a really high ceiling. I picked him to be the second best player on the Jets this year when we did our top 25. I said the kid's got, like, all-star capability, right? Like, he loves the game of football, right? Technique is probably, like, his biggest flaw right now, but he just plays with such a swagger and he plays with so much heart and stuff. And, he really loves the game, and he's just got stuff you can't teach, man. Like, that pass break up to Courtland Sutton, like, he just stick that long arm in there and break it out. Like some guys just don't have that, man. You can't teach that. And, like, okay, you might be that big, but can you run? And, like, people keep comparing him to Tariq Woolen. And, I saw that, I think it was Quandre Diggs, who's the safety over there. It's like, he's 6'4" and runs like a 4.3. Speaking about Woolen, good luck trying to throw him a jump go ball. And it's kind of like almost like the same thing with Sauce. But anyway, like, did I expect him to be this good? Like, I honestly thought he might struggle a little bit more than this, even though he has had his struggles here or there. But seeing him be basically on a Pro Bowl, and Daniel Jeremiah just said, I think he's top 5 right now, I'm honestly not that surprised. I picked him to be the second best Jet this year, and I said he has legit shot to make the Pro Bowl in year one. Yeah. So I'm really not that surprised.
Yeah, I think he's, like, we have to really go through and, like, watch other guys, like, at least top 10 right now, which for your rookie year, in the first half of your rookie year, the first, like, third of your rookie year is ridiculous. Now, he can improve. And I bring up in the film reviews, I think right now, okay, he's top 10. I think he can be the best, but there's definitely room for improvement in terms of him staying square. And Kyle, again, in that film review, I'm not sure if you watched it, but, like, I don't know if I recorded it. I didn't record it, but, like, the play where they run, like, the double move to Hamler, and he's a little bit behind, and there's a safety in the middle. He almost got beat over the top there. He almost got beat over the top versus Deontay Johnson, but the foot wasn't in. And then that play where Judy was streaking up the right sideline, and yes, he pushed off a Sauce. But Sauce looks back for the ball when she be looking back for the hand. And if the ball was on target, it's probably a touchdown on him.
I almost wrote in my notes, I know Blewett's going to be harping on this. Dude, when you and Marcus used to do your reviews together, which, man, missed those days. That was cool.
I think I have him back on soon.
Yeah, like, that was something that you guys pointed out ad nauseum when someone was staring at the quarterback. So, but
which to me, he needs to just get some shuffles in, get over the top of the guys, because that was 2 plays where – listen, at the end of the day, like, yes, he's very good. If he wanted to hit Hamler deep in perfect accuracy, he's beat there. If it was perfect accuracy on Judy, he's beat there. Why? It's because he's opening that gate too soon and letting guys get over top of him. Now, yes, he has elite, he has good ball skills, he has elite length, good size, but perfect throw is a perfect throw. So if you're not going to put yourself over the top of it, it is what it is. And even that play where he gets the pass deflection on Sutton, it looks like he turns around and looks low to high, and it can't find the ball, and then plays through Sutton's hand, which was great playing through his hands. But when you have that much room to the sideline, you have to be looking through the receiver to the ball. You cannot be looking back for the ball right away. So, like, his eyes are sketchy at times. And again, his press could be better. or just playing off the line could be better. Listen, do not go crazy. I'm talking about him going from top 10 to number 1, the best corner in the league. He has that capability, but he can improve that. DJ Reed, too. We talk about him. Obviously, blew up that screenplay, has been very, very good. Part of the thing with DJ Reed is, and you'll see it on the review, I forget if it was a 3 or just like an off man, like shuffle or bail, whatever you want to call it. He lets guys get into his blind spot a little bit, and he'll start to look at the quarterback. And then when the ball is thrown, that's when, he's going to decide to put on turn on the jets and get the sideline and play the ball. That's why I kind of see him get beat by Alan Lazard, I believe. And he almost got beat on a vertical because of that. Again, he's peeking to the backfield a little bit and gears down. And then, the receiver gets into his blind spot and obviously beats him a little bit vertically. But they were both very, very good. Like, listen, I'm just saying ways to improve. I think right now they are at least 1 or 2 in the league. People argue the Ravens duo. You can argue Slay and Bradbury. At the minimum, they're top 3 corner duo right now. So don't think I'm shitting on them. Past that, Brandon Eccles had that really nice play on the tight end where he did a good job staying square, getting into his chest, and he almost had that pick, and they called the.
Oh, I think that tight end might be pretty good.
Dolchik? Yeah.
I think he might be pretty good.
And they called I don't know if it was like a DPI or a holding, whatever it was, but Eccles was good too. But anything to add to the corner group until we go, and then we're going to go back to the rest of the chat.
And now that you're reminding me that play was not to Dulcich with the Eccles play, which I'm the one who said that, so I'm not correcting you. I'm correcting myself. Yeah, and so like what you said, that they might be like a top 3 corner duo in the league, and when you add MC2 in there, like,
Oh yeah, he played well too, but he got beat on that third down by Judy, and they're all kind of doing the same thing, which I like Odin for the most part. But that play where he got beat by Judy, he runs like that squirt release, 3 steps to the outside, 3rd step break inside, and he got beat because he plays with I think it's initially over the top or inside leverage, but he gears or he goes back quick into gear on a back pedal and gets outside leverage, and then Judy just has a free release break inside and beats him. Like they gotta start staying a little bit more square and get their hands on guys. Now I get they're Sauce, Mike Carter II, and Reed are all really good athletes, but there's a reason why Sauce, he's going to play well against guys like Sutton and Lazard and all that stuff, but there's a reason that Cooper is not on that graphic because he's a very, very good route runner. Diggs Jefferson, I'm telling you right now, if they're trying to beat him on slants, there's a way to do it because he opens up too soon. So he has big tests coming. Even Jamar Chase, he's not an elite route runner. He's more of a physical guy. Sauce can handle that. The elite route runner types, I think he's going to struggle with a little bit more than we've seen. With that being said, still top 10 corner in the league. I'm just talking about top 10 to 1 so people don't lose their shit.
Yeah. I'm just thinking out loud right now. I'm almost like cooler with like, you never want someone opening the gate too quick. And you want them staying square more. I think that, and you more so than anybody, definitely in Jets world, are really good at pointing out corner technique. I think that that's so crucial to being a really solid corner. And that's one of the things that we really liked about Michael Carter's Duke tape was how well he stays squared. But I'm almost thinking like, with like DJ Reed, like if you're going to like, he has like this tendency to like hop back or, give a little bit, give a receiver some kind of cushion off the line of scrimmage. Like he's so good at breaking on the ball. Like once the quarterback releases to throw, that I'd almost be a little bit more cooler with him, giving a little bit of cushion than like Sauce. Like whereas Sauce, I want guys and I want him in guys' grills and kind of like, jamming them a little bit more. So I don't know. I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense at all, but like, I almost want like, like not that you can almost like play them in different ways. Whereas like Reed can give like a little bit more cushion because he's so good at breaking on the ball versus Sauce. Like his skill set and strength is like, okay, be in the guy's face and not give them an inch from the go.
Yeah. He's elite size and makeup ability too, which helps him. And there are times where he opens up too soon. A guy beats him to the inside, but he uses like that slingshot technique to get himself back over the top. But again, guys like Diggs and Jefferson, you're not getting that hand in a slingshot. They're gonna chop that hand down. So we'll see. But I'm still really impressed. Daniel C is shitting on Zach, but he thinks Wentz is a top 10 quarterback, but he broke his finger. Wentz is absolute trash.
Daniel C did this with Wentz several weeks ago too, so I don't get that.
Okay. We'll move on. We have a lot of chats, and that's that. Daniel C, I know you're in here a lot, so I appreciate it, but we're not going to address that one. I don't think it's worth it. We need a guard, not a tackle. I trust Nate Herbig more than I trust Cedric Agbui. But with that being said, okay, Max Mitchell and Fant are coming back in a couple of weeks. So that's maybe part of your argument. Um, but let's move on to on other chats. Let's hit, I guess, the rest of the offense because we have to expedite a little bit. Offensive line was bad. Dwayne Brown, 2 false starts, a holding. He did not look good this game. Laken Tomlinson was brutal, absolutely brutal, just in terms of understanding blocking assignments, letting free rushers go, not moving 3 seconds after the ball is snapped. Like, we could talk about individual plays, but there was 3, 4, 5 plays where it was absolutely disgusting. Connor McGovern was pretty solid this game. He had that first play where he had some pressure in Zach's face, and he was leaning a little bit, got caught leaning and got jerked to the ground. But overall, he was solid. Herbig, okay, he was fine, I think. And then even Abui was, when he was in there, was okay as well. But a lot of the problems came from Brown and Laken Tomlinson in this game. And then past that, tight ends, not much to add. They both do a damn good job of blocking. Receivers, Corey Davis went out pretty early. I think Barrios was okay. He had that one drop where he should have caught the ball, but that one end around was very nice. Mims had a nice block, but then of course he has another block where it's illegal. Offensive pass interference. The guy just cannot stop getting penalties when it's on the field. And then he also had the ball, which was behind him, but he still should have caught. So you have a game where, okay, awesome, great block, but you had a drop. Again, not ideal ball placement, but a drop to me. And I'm not one of those guys, okay, it hits your hands, you should catch the ball, but it's still a drop. And you had a pass interference. So, like, okay, that's not ideal for a guy coming into the game. And past that, Jeff Smith had a drop where, to me, it looked like it was a DPI where the corner was all over his back. But Zach Wilson actually fit into a nice window, fired it in there, and then he dropped the ball. So not much from the receiver group past that.
Yeah, that was one of Zach's better throws.
Yeah. So go ahead on anything to add. O-line, receivers, tight ends.
Just quickly on Ogbuehi, like if you saw 55, how am I forgetting his name? Anyway, the good edge rusher for Denver, Chubb. If you saw him over Ogbuehi more, I think Ogbuehi would have had a much harder time dealing with him, although he was lined up on the other side more. Ogbuehi,
like, on this week.
I feel like who's been really good. I feel like he moves decently well. And he obviously was a first round draft pick, so nobody's really questioning his athleticism. But like, I feel like his punches, like he has, he does not have a good strike in his punches, and like sometimes like he'll even look like a little lazy out there. Like when he had like one of these cutoff backside blocks, like he didn't put a lot of effort into it. So if he has to play major reps at right tackle, I am a little bit concerned. I didn't really see him moving people in the run game too well in terms of receivers. The end around to Barrios, I was actually showing my wife that play. Like, and I know that Nani posted this on Twitter. Is like, this really even shouldn't be a big gain, nonetheless, like a 30-something yard gain or whatever. Like that was a really impressive play. And
they over pursued that hard.
They did, but what a nice cut, man. Like, he is good with the ball in his hands. And I know that I've given him a lot of crap as a receiver. I do want to see more in that department. And even you just highlighted one of his drops, which is, not the worst drop in the world, but nonetheless it's a drop, and it's an NFL drop. Like, catch the fucking ball, man. Like, you're a fourth year player now. But that drops have been an issue that he's had like his entire career, even dating back to his Darnold days. But Barrios is good with the ball in his hands. And when the whole Elijah Moore usage thing came about, where some people are like, well, they need to, stop giving some of these design touches to Barrios, give some to Moore. And I got to be honest, I'm not so sure that Elijah Moore is going to be better on an end around or catching a swing route than Braxton Barrios at this point in time. Barrios is good with the ball in his hands. He's not going to create the level of separation. He doesn't have the receiving skills that Elijah Moore has. I'm obviously not saying that, but I do not necessarily. I mean, and listen, just for the sake of throwing the team off and stuff, yeah, sure, give Elijah Moore an end around, sure, give him one game or whatever. But I wouldn't be like in favor of taking a lot of those away. Yeah, Denzel Mims, that was a big boy block, man. Like, he went like with like, he came like a bat out of hell, and like he was saying, I'm just trying to take the guy's head off. Like, what he said backed up with what he did on that play. That was a really impressive block to go in there and like, that was Kareem Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, who, you want to talk about a guy who fits in the run game very well. Kareem Jackson's probably one of the better safeties in the league at doing that. Mims moved him. And then like, sometimes like you can, when you're a receiver blocking, it can be quite challenging sometimes because, you're blocking somebody who's a good athlete, corner or safety, and they can easily avoid you in open space. So to come in, in a controlled way and get a block is not always easy. He goes, he makes the contact, moves him really well. But then after he moves him, sometimes to maintain this, and this is a problem that Becton had, even though he's obviously not a receiver or whatever, but that ability to maintain, to stay on the block. Like Becton would throw somebody, but does he get back on the block after he moves them a lot? And Mims did that on that play, and that really helped spring the run. So that was a good play. But overall, overall, that was such a huge play that, okay, he ended up being more positive than good for him. But he's still a liability on the field for some of the other reasons that you highlighted. Garrett Wilson seems a little frustrated with Zach Wilson. Did he have by the way, Garrett Wilson, late in the game, that jump cut that he had after he catches the ball in, little screenplay, jukes the shit out of Patrick Surtain. Impressive play. I want to see Garrett Wilson get the ball on more end arounds and more screen passes to him. I know he had some earlier in the season, and I think he might have even dropped one. And I think it was Zach Wilson who, threw him some really shitty balls off target or whatever. But I want to see him with the ball in space more as well. So anyway,
he also has to start catching some balls when it's targeted and running routes past his sticks. So I get he's frustrated, but he needs to also improve. Jan, I think this was Jan last time. He messaged me like 11 o'clock, 11:30. He's like, "Where are you guys at?" It's like, I've been tailgating for 3 hours and I don't really look at my phone when I'm tailgating. But J1, that's it. I don't need to DM anybody. J1. Find it. I'll be there from 8 o'clock till 12 o'clock.
Can't be that dumb. He's an attorney.
Joe Musa, would you put money on the Jets? I would put money line Jets. Do it. What's up, D Mars? Past that, Kyle, while I find some more chat. Somebody said that you called me on my shit just like I called you on your shit, which was why I appreciate Kyle. I guess it's about Elijah Moore who called me on my shit. I don't know.
Wait, what happened?
Somebody said that they appreciate that you called me on my shit just like I call you on your shit. I guess it's about Elijah Moore and me.
Did you put that chat on the screen? I don't think you put that chat on the screen.
I'm flying in the chat because I'm 30 minutes behind, and we have topics to go, and I kind of bounce off at 8 or near 8. So with the being said, I want to find other chats. Defensive line Q had like 5 QB hits this game. Had 2 tipped balls. Two tipped balls, or at least one. Yeah, at least one. He had a play where the screen was not complete to Latavius Murray or Gordon, where he was going to blow that up anyway. But he was very, very good again. JFM had a quiet game, but had a really nice blown up screen. Carl Wilson had some pressure, but still he's been hot and cold to me. Bryce Huff had another couple pressures. Linebackers, Mosley was decent this game. Quincy, I'm not sure if you watched the entire game yet.
I did.
This game he had a couple of really nice like sideline to sideline plays, like showing elite speed and getting over the top and blowing guys up. But then he had at least 2 or 3 plays where he busted a coverage. So hot and cold from him. Quan didn't really notice too much. Safeties, Joyner struggled. I don't care about the pick. There's a couple plays like cover 2. He was over a smash concept and played way too far inside. And Judy could have been in a walker and caught that ball on LaMarcus Joyner.
Are you talking about the ball that he caught on the sideline, but Rippon had
that play.
If Rippon threw it on time, if he didn't have pressure, it could have been a
touchdown. So he had a couple of bad plays in coverage. He blew up a play in the run game too, but a couple bad plays in coverage. Not the best game from Joyner, even though the pick will automatically make people think he played really well. Whitehead was fine, nothing too bad or good, but catch the ball at the end of the game, please. He had a chance for 2 picks and dropped both of them. And that's pretty much it for the defense. I'm sorry I'm going a little bit fast, but kind of time permitting. Kyle, anything else I'm sure you have something to add to the defense.
No, we could just get through the chat and talk about Patriots preview and whatever else you wanted to talk about.
Okay,
we're a little bit on time.
Yeah, it's real behind the scenes. I got like 2.5 hours of sleep. I have to go to work again tonight, so it just is what it is. So which hope, dude. Honestly, let's just make this freaking. Let's just make this my full-time job. That's the idea. I don't think I could ever do it, to be completely honest. 234 people in the chat. So much hype, boys. Yeah, we appreciate it. Numbers keep going up in the chat. Subscribers, slight uptick, just very slight.
Subscribers to the YouTube channel or subscribers to the website?
Well, website's going up. YouTube has been a little bit slow, but it is what it is. 224 in the chat. 62 likes for Shane, I guess it's a shame, whatever. Twisted, appreciate you.
I almost
You're always in
wonder
here.
why it's not more likes. Are some people just stingy and like, oh well, they have to say something good or something that I like in order for me
Prove
to
it
push
to
the like
me.
button, or are they just not logged into their account? Like why do we not get more likes?
I don't know. You feel like 224 people are in here, or 212 now. Like at least 150 people like it, right? You'd assume, unless like 150 people are in here just hate watching us, which I guess could happen. But yeah, throw a like. I'd appreciate it. We don't ask for it a lot, but it does help the algorithm and all that stuff. So that being said, I guess I'll get to this. Elijah Moore's coming back this week. At least it seems that. Now, he had a little bit of a tough start to the week, Kyle, tweeting out Bible scripture about being persecuted. A little bit odd. And then he tweets, "Got everything I need inside of me." And Jets fans were talking about A.J. Brown's body parts and stuff like that, which was kind of funny.
Oh,
Yeah,
geez.
and then
I did not pick up on that.
But today you saw him, dapping up some receivers and Mike LaFleur. So I guess nice to see in terms of, okay, he's going to be hopefully, again, a weapon for Zach
And
Wilson.
Zach Wilson saying he has his back no matter what.
Yeah.
Listen, this is another thing I could say about Zach. Like, I feel like Zach handles the media very well. I feel like he is a consummate professional. I do want to see it materialize on the field more, but I mean, it's a shitty situation for Zach to be in, and I feel like he handled that pretty well.
Yeah, and past that, Mike LaFleur said that they're giving some consideration to playing him and Garrett Wilson a little bit, like inside and outside, where Garrett Wilson.
That's the way it should have been all year.
I agree. I don't think either one it should be outside or inside strictly. I think using them both in different roles is fine with me. Like, I don't think Garrett Wilson's so much better in the slot or Garrett Wilson's so much better outside, where you need to lock those guys into that role. So
it was I mean, not only like, listen, if you're more like, you're pissed because, okay, I'm not doing I'm not in my place where I can best succeed, but also just from like a schematic standpoint, you're making things way too predictable for the defense. Keep them guessing. So
yeah, and with the Moore thing too, like we kind of worried last week about like how it affected the locker room, but I think the locker room showed up when they won the game last week, which we would have lost 1,000 times out of 1,000 in the past 15 years. And every single quote this week, like, it wasn't necessarily shots at Moore, but it was like, oh, team game. Everybody does what it takes to win. Sauce tweets out it's about the team and not I. And Connor McGovern says it, and Mosley says
Williams.
Yeah, Quinn Williams. Like, there was not one player who
you're talking about some of the best guys on the team. Breece Hall liked the tweet from Damian Woody, where Damian Woody was like saying like it's basically ridiculous that Moore's demanding a trade and stuff. So yeah.
Somebody saying Pats will not sweep up. I think we split them. I'll take a split, but if they win this game, let's go for that.
When's the last time we swept the Pats?
Oh,
I can't think of it. I can't.
Not since I've been watching, unless there's like some random.
I mean, I know we swept the Dolphins in 2015.
That was the year we beat them first, where I think the first play of the game was a play action deep shot to Brandon Marshall.
Yes.
In London. Yeah.
And then Chris Ivory went off at MetLife Stadium and like broke like 5 tackles on his way to like a 40-yard touchdown against them. Yeah.
So past that, I guess we could talk. And the thing with Mike LaFleur too is kind of talking about him and using Elijah Moore in the slot. I do, and listen, I think it's always easy to just blame the OC, and I think he's been like decent this year at least. But there is a lot of times where we know we're going to be facing pressure, and it's play action or just 5 to 7 step drops with deep concepts. Like, I do want to see a little bit more RPO. I do want to see more short concepts, sticks, spots, double slants. Like, and I think people say, oh, we'll just run the guy in a slant. Like, it's that easy just to run a guy in a slant and be open. It's not Madden. But with that being said, I do want to see some more slants. I do want to see him get into more rhythm. Like, he's been pretty solid with RPO, but there's a lot of times where I'm watching the Jets offense and I feel, and there was times where guys are running into the same area, which is a little bit frustrating, but you need to get Wilson into a rhythm and running, concepts that take a while to develop early on in the game. I don't feel is the best way. So I would like to see more short, again, spots, sticks, RPOs, things like that. So I don't think Michael.
And a lot of the play action stuff from under center, where Zach has to fully turn his back to the defense. I don't know that he's very comfortable with that yet. So and by the way, you want to talk about shitty blocking? I mean, like several times in this game, like he's literally like play action fake, and then he's immediately got a guy in his face. I mean, you want to talk about like breaking a young quarterback's confidence. That's certainly a way to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Why so much hate for Ty Johnson? Because Ty Johnson is not a good running back. He's the definition of a jag. Like
what does he do well? What does he do
okay
well?
with him running the ball with power and pace, I guess, but he can't pass protect. He can't catch. So he's not very good. So we don't hate him. I would just like to see.
You hate him. You definitely hate him.
Bears, Lions, Jags should be winnable games. They should be wins. Beat the Pats this week. Find another win. Yeah, 9 wins should get you in. So you win this game this week, those 3 games, and then Seahawks, Vikings, Pats again on the road, or Dolphins. So let's do it. But past that, and with Wilson, another stat I want to bring up is and Nani put this up this week, I believe, it was this week. Out of 35 qualified quarterbacks, Zach Wilson is 21st in QBR, 23rd in net yards per attempt. So while he's been below average and must be better, but we are. I don't really speak verbatim, but his numbers are better this year. Again, 21st and 23rd, where last year I think he was dead last and second to worst in those categories. So again, he's not been great this year, but he's not been as bad as he was last year at points. And again, listen, no preseason really, playing really tough defenses. Again, that's not necessarily an excuse for him because he played like balls this game, to be completely honest. But
this was easily one of his worst games. Easily one of his worst games. I mean, you can argue the Pats game last year, 4 interceptions, that was worse. I'm all for that.
That's not an argument. That is definitely a worse game.
Okay, and I'm not arguing, but
okay, I think you can make an argument. Sorry. This
one, I mean, okay, in terms of he was obviously really inaccurate in that game too. Decisions were obviously a lot worse in that game too. But if you were talking straight accuracy, and this is a tweet that I tweeted out during the game. If we're talking about straight accuracy,
it's a tweet you tweeted out.
Yes, Joe. It's a tweet that I tweeted out. I know it doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
I was not talking about decision making and stuff because Darnold made a ton of dumb decisions in his tenure with the Jets, but I've never seen Darnold be that inaccurate in a game. Zach had 20 something pass attempts, and how many of them were really off target? I mean, you were just talking about. And one throw to Corey Davis really early in the game. I mean, sailing way over the head, CJ Uzama, and it's way out in front of him. He can't even extend his long arm and get one arm on it. I mean, it was really bad accuracy in this game. So this is definitely one of his worst games. It's definitely a top 5, but probably closer to the top 3.
Mm-hmm. So we also touched on about the game too. Jets, and this was, I think it's David Y. Hampton who tweeted this out, who's another guy who's a part of Jets X Factor now. But the penalties are a problem this game, Kyle. 11 penalties, 85 yards. And then in terms of the season, which I didn't think it was this bad, but apparently
by the way, we got screwed. Did you see at the end of the game, Zach has a scramble where he spins out of bounds? Number 99, a big fat defensive lineman. Zach is already out of bounds on the ground. This guy fucking does a WWE top of the turnbuckle body splash on Zach Wilson right in front of the fucking ref, and he doesn't throw a flag.
The frog splash? Who had the frog splash, Kyle? Come on. Do you know who had the frog splash?
You're talking about D'Lo Brown? Well, Brown had the lowdown.
Eddie Guerrero.
Rob Van Dam. Okay, well, Eddie Guerrero did it too.
He did. Yeah. But yeah, 48 accepted penalties this year, which is 5th most in the league, costing them a league high 526 yards. When your offense is not necessarily, it's not clicking on all cylinders, and now you have not Breece Hall, who is explosive. They gotta cut the ship with the penalties. Even later in the game, I forget exactly what the score was, but they ran the ball for 6-7 yards on first down. Holding Nate Herbig put us out of field goal range. It's they could not. They were shooting themselves in the foot consistently this game. But I'll bring up a chat from Nose Kills, who consistently super chats, so we appreciate you big time, Nose Kills. Can we remember can we remember who was our last skill position ACL? Think we haven't had many, so of course when it happens, it's the best on our roster. Don't know what the dog is barking at, but nonetheless, you know what it is? Halloween decorations, and there's a little got in front of my door. He definitely thinks it's the person standing there, 100%. So I got to figure that out. Yes, that is it. There's a scary freaking Grim Reaper, whatever it is. But with that being said, the last one I can remember on offense was Liz Frank for
specifically ACL. Yeah, that was a Liz Frank, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. ACL for offensive skill player. I can't think of one. I mean,
Yeah.
We're not talking about defensive players. I mean, because obviously Revis had a torn ACL back in 2012 when he played the Dolphins. It was on a screenplay, and he planted and non-contact type of thing. But that's not what he's asking.
Yeah. So, hey fellas, I'm ready to have my hits. Your hits blown off. Your tits blown off. I'm not. Enlighten me. What are we trying to blow your tits off for, Sluggo? I was just never. I say, Sluggo, I like your tits, but it is what it is. So let's see. Moving on.
Somebody said your puppy's seeing ghosts.
He quite literally is right now, because it's like I have like that little slit in my door. It's like this big, and it looks like a person's just standing there. She's like hung from the door. My wife just put the Halloween decorations, or a couple of them outside. So yeah, I gotta address that. Jets mess. Hey fellas, what's up? A little bit late, but it's okay. Kyle, let's hit on the Pats generally. If you want to pull up I don't know if you could pull up the roster while I could look.
I'm pretty sure I can.
Or if you could pull up the roster while I look through the chats, that'd be great. Now, with that being said, I don't know if we could just talk about their injuries. I think Mac Jones he probably is starting.
He definitely is starting today.
But Barmore didn't play last week. He's probably their best defensive lineman, minus Judon, who's a linebacker. And David Andrews had a concussion last week from a really dirty hit. I don't know if David Andrews is playing, who is probably going to argue him and Owenu, the right guard, who are like their best offensive linemen right now. Trent Brown's been solid, but I think those guys have been pretty good on the interior. But if he's gone and Barmore's gone, that's two huge injuries in favor of the Jets, which we don't root for injuries, but if people are like, I want to play them at full strength. I'm fine playing them without Barmore. Like, just give me some dubs, So, what do you? So my screen is so. I'll say this so I could minimize my screen, but we haven't beat the Pats since the 2015 game. Last year we lost 52-13. They ran up the score, throwing bombs in the fourth quarter. So I want nothing more than to fuck the Pats up. I really, really do. Saleh was pissed. The players were pissed. Will Parks brought it up. Other players brought it up. That game last year, I think Saleh brought it up this year, or I forget. Somebody brought it up on Twitter. But Richard Seymour in that Pats game referred to the Jets as their homecoming game. And for the homecoming game, it's basically going to play a shitty team because it's like a celebration. So the Jets were their homecoming game last year. You have Jeff Ulbrich, who says, quote, I remember the score. I remember a lot of things. I remember it being 40 plus and them still taking shots. He also added that we're looking forward to this one. So I think the entire Jets team is going to be pumped up for this one, especially the players who were there last year, but even the players like Sauce and all that stuff, like hearing about what happened last year. I think the Jets want to blow the fucking shit out of the Patriots. Blow them out, not blow them. Sorry. Nonetheless, blow them out. I think a lot of those
getting on me about what I said about Twitter.
So with that being said, let's beat the shit out of the Pats, but looking at their roster, let's go through that a little bit, Kyle. I pull up some chats.
Okay, so you want to start with the receivers, like right at the top, and just work our way down the hour lads? Is that how you want to do it?
Sure. Yeah,
okay, so Devontae Parker. Go ahead.
Yep. No,
go ahead.
These are spots where Nania shines because he knows all the numbers. So you're like, oh, they're producing this, but the receiver is actually producing better or not. But this is where Nania really, really shines. But he shines in a bunch of ways. But I definitely appreciated when you guys did the breakdowns of the teams.
By the way, we got to make sure he comes over to the tailgate, and not late either, because he said he's coming to the game.
I think he's coming.
He said he's coming to the game, but let's get him to the tailgate on time. Okay, so Devontae Parker, and we don't have the numbers and stuff. Obviously, he was like the 14th overall pick in the draft back in, I want to say 2014 or 15. Never quite lived up to the hype. He did have one really good year in Miami, but they obviously decided to part ways with him. But he's probably their best receiver top to bottom. Nelson Aguilar, they gave him big time money, but he's really only had one good year with the Raiders and kind of really hasn't done too much with the Patriots. Jacoby Myers, interesting player, converted quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. Kendrick Bourne, guy came from San Francisco. I mean, dude, we were talking about this receiving corps, not that impressive. When we did our rankings, Joe, we obviously easily put them as the fourth best team out of 4 in the AFC East when we did the rankings. So kind of hard to be scared about the receivers. You think about Devontae Parker, you think this is a matchup for Sauce where he matches up really well. The bigger, more physical guys. Look what he did to Cortland Sutton this past week. I'd expect a similar type of game with Devontae Parker. I mean, Devontae Parker, He's kind of a guy like, doesn't have a wide variety of releases, just kind of really wins with like, I wouldn't say physicality, but like, going up and getting balls and stuff. And I don't really see him doing much of that against Sauce. Nelson Aguilar, what do you think he does well, if anything? Oh, you're muted. Let me unmute you. Wait, why are you muted?
That was my fault. Dog was barking a little bit, but yeah, not much of anything. So I'm not afraid of this receiver group. Is one of the worst groups we're going to see the entire year. It was probably like them. The Ravens aren't overly impressive. We should really be able to lock up this group, and I think the Jets they do like to play a little bit soft and rally and make the tackles. But if that's not going to happen, let's say they start gashing us up a little bit with the running backs, which we can kind of hit on in terms of Ramondre Stevenson, Harris. It's a decent duo there. So if they start to bang us up a little bit in the run game, I do think this is a group we could stack the box a little bit and dare Devontae Parker, Aguilar, and Jacoby Myers to beat you. So I think initially
and Mac Jones, right? Like I said, 30 something minutes ago, he's not being well with the deep downfield concepts. So let him beat you that way. Don't let him beat you. Like when you look at Mac Jones last year, when he beat us, he did not really have any impressive throws worth of note. It was a lot of like, okay, Damian Harris is dragging 5 dudes on his way to the end zone, and Mac Jones is throwing a lot of screens, and they're running a lot of traps and stuff. Mac Jones didn't do a lot in those games against us at all.
Yeah, for sure. So I think initially the Jets do play like in their like two deep or like cover 6, cover 3 shell, and they see if the Pats can beat them in the run game. And then if they do, they start to press up a little bit and jam the shit out of these receivers because I think that's what ends up happening because Ramondre Stevenson's pretty solid and Harris is at least decent. But depending on if Andrews plays or not, but I do think that's what ends up happening. And even if it doesn't, like even if they don't gash up in the run game, I would see a nice mixture because who is beating who? The receiver group, who do they beat if our top 3 corners? I just can't see it. So you definitely have the flexibility to press them this game and stack the box and make them beat you on the outside. And listen, like at the end of the day, their tight ends, you're looking at, decent tight ends with Henry and Jonnu Smith. And you talk about Mac Jones and Bill Belichick wanting to start short. I think it's going to be a lot of the running game. And if up to Bill Belichick, attacking guys like Quincy Williams, who has a coverage buster too, with a lot of crossers and a lot of kind of traffic in front of him, and leak it out to guys like Hunter Henry Smith and all these screens like that. So I think manning up, stacking the box, taking away the run game and the tight ends is the biggest part of this game, and just let our corners play on the outside. But I think they adjust to that, where initially they kind of play a little bit softer like they do and see how the Pats are going to attack them and then adjust. But I think they could kind of do a lot on defense this game, where I'm not necessarily concerned about how the Pats are going to play or how they're going to answer to our adjustments. For the offensive line, again, Andrews, I think he's going to be out this week, if I had to guess.
Sounds like it.
You have Awenu, who's a solid guard. Isaiah Wynn's been struggling at tackle from everything I've seen and heard. Trent Bound, I think, is solid, but not elite. Cole Strange, I think he started off hot, but also hasn't been great based on like some of the numbers I've seen, and I think maybe not in his articles. But so you basically have decent to solid tackle, struggling guard who's going to be matching up against Quentin Williams. Good luck. A most likely James Ferentz at center, so left guard center weakness. Right guard, he's pretty solid. And then Isaiah Wynn, who's a decent right tackle, but nothing to write home about. So you're looking at a team that has a struggling quarterback, an offensive line that is going to be, it's banged up and not great, maybe average at best, with average at best skill positions, minus maybe Ramondre Stevenson, who's been pretty good this year. But it's all about the offensive line, and you don't have your captain and Dave Andrews setting protections and anchoring at home that run game. This is a offense the Jets should be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, and you almost kind of wonder, why did they get rid of Shaq Mason? Like, especially when you consider the value that they got for him in return.
It's like a 5th round pick or some shit, right? Like,
yeah, that was a question. That was a really questionable one because he's been one of the more solid guards in the league over the years. But I don't know. Belichick, he's got a mind of his own, and he always likes to be a year early rather than a year late with a player. So maybe he views him on the decline. I don't really know. But anyway, so yeah, this Patriots offense, it's really not one to be scared of. I don't even know if we hit on the tight ends, but if we want to talk about people that's struggling, I think Jonnu Smith has really struggled ever since he came over. And I think you were pretty high on him. And that was actually one of the guys that you were somewhat interested in signing the year that he was a free agent, ended up going to New England and, hasn't really done much. Hunter Henry, pretty solid player, but, gets hurt a lot and stuff. So not too scared of them either. And the Jets, Dulcich had a decent game against us last week, but the Jets have been better against tight ends this year. Haven't been that bad. Gasecki didn't do jack shit until he had a big catch down the seam late in that game. But I'm really trying to think of where did the Jets struggle against any tight ends this year? I can't really think of anything. Anyway, so you want to talk about defense?
Yeah, we'll hit the chat a little bit. We got a $1 super chat from Ed to be named, and he said, I think you meant to say, "Yo, what's good, Smith?" So I don't know if it's one of your students or.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
I think that's Edward. Nice kid.
Is it illegal for him to pay you 50 cents because we're going to split that, or try to take the full?
That's a good question. I don't know. You're the man. You're the man of the law.
Twisted, big worry of mine this game is the cheap shots every damn time we play the Pats. These biatches, we see them, and what's worse, there's no flags thrown. Yeah, listen. It seemed that they tried to injure Zach Wilson last year. You have Mac Jones kicking people in the dicks. We got to be careful this game, but I think the Jets are a resilient team who's not going to kind of give into that shit, and they will match it blow for blow. You want to play dirty? Here comes Vinny Curry's 3-step late hit or Nathan Shepard's late hit. If they want to play that game, we could play that game. But I do think it's going to be a little bit dirty. Joe, damn, I never knew. I don't know what that is referring to.
Maybe you're referring to the comment that you made where it sounded a little, you know what?
Oh, got you. Smith the GOAT, Jets passing the Bills / Edward. Well, if they beat the Pats this week and then they beat the Bills next week, they are in first place. So.
Dude, could you imagine if they win both these games back to back at MetLife, how much rocking that stadium is going to be, especially after the Bills game? If they go out and blow the doors off the Pats this week, which we've kind of hinted that could potentially be a possibility. Although, I think it's going to be a close game, honestly, a close game that I think the Jets are going to win. That Bills game is going to be rocking because, and I heard that when the Bills went to Miami early this year, the only loss the Bills had was in Miami this year.
Yeah. And
that Miami stadium, I know Coleman was there, Brett Coleman, and he travels to many different stadiums in the NFL. And he said that place was absolutely rocking because, people want to listen, people know the Bills are legit. So
if they win this game, or even if they don't win this game, people got to show up to the Bills game because we're relatively close for the Bills to travel to. So they're going to buy tickets pretty quickly. They probably already did. But listen, at the end of the day, are the Bills invincible? No, they lost to Miami, and we have the benefit of division games always can be a little bit weird. So if we end up can you imagine the pure bliss we'd have even if we lose to the Pats, beating the Bills and going into the bye? That's gonna be a fun game. If we compete, I'll be happy, to be completely honest. But let's get the fucking win. Why not? Sorry, Snowball. My dog's making your dog bark. He's chilling now. Matthew Wallace, do you guys like the black helmets? They're okay, but it's a little bit disappointing because they could have done so much better. Sure, they're fine, but you have Woody Johnson tweeting out how about these helmets, 1980s, and then he releases black helmets that have nothing to do with the 1980s helmets. Even these black helmets with the 1980s Jets logo would be awesome. Mix the two, that'd be really, really cool. The past and the present. But he just ignored that, and we got the Jets with the football and the black helmet. So yeah, it's cool, but not really. They're kind of, as people are saying now, mid. But nonetheless, Kyle, let's go to the defensive line, which you're looking at Weiss, who is decent to me. It's Goddux, right?
Godshaw.
Okay, Godshaw. Matthew Judon, who is people are talking about, he's probably going to be going against Ogbuei, whatever his name is, this week. So they're going to have to chip him a little bit. Barmore, I think, is going to be out, and if he's not out, he's injured. But overall, it's still a decent defensive line with Wise, with Goddux or Godshaw, whatever. I already forgot what you said. With Judon, with even Lawrence Guy as a backup is okay. So I think their defensive line it's not something to write home about, but it's also not a bad group. I think it's kind of like it's an average-ish group.
I could tell you that Lawrence Guy had some really good years, the years that they were in the Super Bowl not too long ago. I don't know if his plays dropped off a lot since then. I don't remember him being great against us last year. But yeah, I think the defensive line is solid overall. But yeah, Judon's really the guy that we have to worry about. I mean, he's playing, definitely in the top 10 edge rushers and probably closer to top 5 than in the 10 range.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Patriots are always going to be pretty solid in the front seven. They don't, even like when we think about the AFC Championship game, Jets, obviously Sean Green breaks off that big run for a touchdown at the end of the divisional game, but it's hard to think of a lot of games where the Jets just, ran the ball down the Patriots' throat, repeatedly. They're always going to be sound up front, and they don't make too many mistakes too. But I do think that, it's not as talented as it has been in some other years. But anyway, why don't we talk about linebackers?
And they struggled against the Bears. I wish I watched more of that Bears game. Unfortunately, I was sleeping, but they let up a lot of yardage against the Bears, who do not have a great offensive line or running game. So if they can let up yards to that team, I think the Jets could.
Well, apparently, what I heard is that the Patriots also struggled quite a bit with stopping Lamar Jackson in the run game when they played them earlier this year. And apparently the Bears ran a lot of the same stuff that the Ravens ran. And obviously Justin Fields is quite a fast quarterback. He's probably somewhere in the 4.4 range. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that the Patriots didn't really prepare for that and see that coming, because you'd figure that, and the Bears haven't really ran Fields a lot. So maybe that's part of the reason why, but it's kind of like, you really don't see those kind of coaching oversights from Belichick. So that was kind of interesting to see.
And people can have a bad game, but when I went to that Bears game, their offense is terrible at times too. So if they could put up some points in the Pats, we could definitely put up some points in the Pats, but their linebackers, I'm not impressed. Jelani Tevy and Juwan Bentley, that is a
Bentley. Bentley he's fun. He's a Belichick type of linebacker where he's downhill, smack the shit out of you. Like, obviously he's not high tower level, but he had some really impressive plays against the Jets last year, especially in that first game. But I think he's a guy who struggles in coverage quite a bit. And Raekwon McMillan, he's also
a little bit, like Conklin, like use him versus linebackers. Like he can get open versus linebackers. So I would like to see him attack a little bit of the middle of the field in this game. Running game again. And Michael LaFleur, like while he hasn't been bad, I think he's been decent, but get Zach Wilson in rhythm. And people have been saying that almost ad nauseum, and like maybe not necessarily even understanding why, but it's kind of true. Like RPOs. Short concepts. Let's stop running like daggers on first down or play action when you're getting pressured. Like let's get him a couple of like boost his confidence throws. So I think they can do that versus linebackers. Now, looking at the safeties, Duggar,
he might be out. He hurt his ankle in that game, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
but he might play. I'm not 100% sure about that.
And even if him, McCourty, who's 1,000 years old at this point, Adrian Phillips, Jabril Peppers. Again, like the Patriots roster is very just average. Like every position group is kind of just average. Defensive line average, offensive line healthy average. Safeties average, corners average. So I'm not really necessarily scared of their safeties either, but they're not terrible either. Kind of just like some other position groups.
Yeah, so Duggar, he's definitely an improved player. He was a small college type of guy. A lot of people didn't see him going in the second round, but again, the Patriots are kind of one of these teams that always has a different big board than everybody else. I know Belichick loves Adrian Phillips. It's Devin McCourty, man. He's so old at this point, but he can still play. But and Jabril Peppers, honestly, out of all those names I just named, he might be the worst player out of them. Mm-hmm. But their corners, apparently, people have been really hyping up Jack Jones this year and saying and I know he had the pick 6 against Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know how good he is. And I think Marcus Jones, for whatever it's worth, apparently the stats say he's having a good season. Jalen Mills.
I think overall it's an average defense. I think you're looking at a bad offense. Who Mac Jones is struggling, looking at an offensive line without David Andrews, most likely that's going to struggle against the Jets defensive line. You're looking at a bad receiving core, looking at an average tight end at the very best, with a decent running back, solid decent running back, but pretty bad offense and an average defense. This is a game the Jets really should win, in my opinion, if they want to make that playoff push and really prove themselves, like, especially after what the Pats did this last year to the Jets. You cannot lose this game, because then, listen, we kind of picked split with the Dolphins and the Pats. At the end of the day, if you lose this game, then you have the Bills. You lose that game, then you go to the Pats. Harder to play there than here. Then you're looking at 5.
And you're going into your bye week with back-to-back losses. That's not the momentum you want heading into the bye week.
This is a must-win game to me.
Yeah, you have to win this one because it's much more realistic, talent-wise, to win this one than the Bills game. So, what's your score prediction?
And by the way, our special teams too. We don't have to. Recap that. But they're Brady Man,
right? Be special,
killing it.
Apparently the Jets have the top-rated special teams group in the NFL.
Credit to Brant Boyer making it through 1,000 coaching regimes and just still staying here. He's just cozy. But score prediction, Kyle. I'm going to be a little bit cocky with this one. The Jets blow out the Pats because they remember last year. They take it to them. They throw the ball deep and continue to pound it down their freaking throats. At the end of the game, they hit Mac Jones. They get a couple of picks, a couple of fumbles. The Jets win 31-13.
Okay, I'll say 27-17 Jets. And I do believe, I'm very confident the Jets can win, but I'm telling you, if Zach Wilson plays like he played last week, they will not win. In order for them to win this game, your explosive runs, no Breece Hall, it's going to be a little bit harder to come by. Zach Wilson needs to make some big time throws in this game. Otherwise, I don't think they win.
And we got a quick comment about the Jets and in terms of J-Rob and Michael Carter. What do you see the split being this week? I think eventually it's 50-50, but what do you see being in this week?
Maybe I want to say 60-40, but maybe 65-35.
Yeah, I would agree with that. 65-35 this game. And let's sprinkle in Ty Johnson. So 60-30, 10% tie, which
10% tie, that's too much. 5% tie, I can maybe live with that, just to give the other two a breather a little bit. Yeah, geez, 10% tie. I don't like that.
But Kyle, pretty good timing. 8:02. Unfortunately, we had to cut a little bit short and rush through some topics this week, but I appreciate you all being here again. Jan, whoever else, J1. Don't mess with me. Where are you at, Joe? J1. We'll be there from 8 o'clock, so we'll probably go a couple minutes early, Kyle. I want to see the intros and stuff. Maybe 11:45 we'll leave, 11:50. We always say, 12 o'clock, and we pack up. It's 12:15. We're rushing into the stadium. But I expect to be pretty packed. And I'm
gonna be annoyed with you if we're not walking in on time. I don't like rushing.
Okay, so we'll be walking in on time, but J1. I don't have to get any DMs about it. I appreciate all you guys, Rusty and Sluggo and Alex, the Dolphins fan in here, and King Blaze and
NY Billy. Nose kills, Jan.
Especially
those super chats.
Yeah. But John Hassel, everybody, you guys kill it. D Mars is in here. I appreciate all of you guys. We will see you hopefully on Sunday. Go light up the stadium. Matthew Walsh, appreciate you as well. Come to J1 if you want, and we will see you on the next film show. Actually, by the way, again, Saturday, the film show for Robinson should be out. So if you want to watch, again, people don't love the YouTube. Oh, it cuts off every 10 minutes, so people don't give a shit about it. But if you're a subscriber,
and your Broncos review is out too, right? You posted
Broncos review is fully out on the website. Only 10 minutes on YouTube or whatever it is. But nonetheless, we appreciate you guys, and we will see you next.